Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in on this Friday morning ish, late morning ish. Welcome in. How's your day been so far? I hope your morning has went well. Come on in and get comfy. We got some things to chat about. Can y'all hear me in the chat okay? Everything's working properly? Good morning to my mod team. Thank you for being here, Butterfly, Rachel, and Forrest. As always, we couldn't do it without you guys. Teresia, thank you for being here. Yes, please hit the like button and share this out for us. Butterfly, you guys let me know if y'all can hear me. Hear me good? All right. All right. Hey, Michelle, welcome in. We'll give everybody a few minutes to get in here, guys, and get it together. I have some coffee. I've had some things going on around here. Had that little puppy incident that I had to tend to, and it wasn't a little incident, turned out to be a big incident, but we're okay. We're good. The puppy's fine. Well, she'll be fine. She'll be fine. Actually, she appears to be totally fine. I think the humans are more upset than the puppy. Anyway, in case you don't know what I'm talking about, my cat committed assault on my son's puppy. So therefore, I'm responsible, right? But like I told him, my cat didn't go looking for trouble. Trouble went looking for my cat, and the cat defended herself. But I will pay for your medical bills. But that's where I draw the line. I felt so horrible. I really did. But the puppy did lose the eye. Guys, I'm not going to get graphic with you guys, but this cat managed to get this puppy at the right time, right angle, the entire eye. It was not a pretty sight. But the vet fixed her up, did a little procedure in house for us that made her even look a little better, right? And they're like, give it a week, this puppy, this and that, wear this cone. Y'all, this dog, as of today, she's like, screw that cone, it is so in my way. And it was just to keep her from, pawing at the area, but she's fine. She knows it's sensitive and sore, but she is so cool. Last night I gave her little pain medicines, like barely anything, because she's like neonatal. Anyway, I gave her a dose just in case because she seemed fine, but I wanted to clean it really well around all of around the eye and the hair and all that stuff. But it was in her little blanket, and she just laid there and chilled perfectly and let me clean her all up, and she looked real pretty when we got done. So she's playing quietly in the floor with a ball almost bigger than she is. So I let them out before we came live, so the dogs should be good to go. And the cat is nowhere to be seen. She's hiding in her hidey hole where she tried to stay before. And you would think the dog would learn a lesson, but she tried to get right back in there with that cat, guys. So we had to really fix it where this puppy cannot get around the cat because the puppy is smaller than the cat, right? She's so tiny. I'm not used to having little dogs. I'm used to big, beefy, kill everything in sight kind of dogs, right? Not this little guy. But she's going to be okay. She's very resilient, just like children. The vet was even surprised at how well she was doing when I called to give the report on her. So, anyway, she doesn't even require surgery at this point. Nothing. She's like good to go. Got her little procedure done, and yeah, girl's like, look at me. I can still see out of my good eye. Okay. Puppy crisis averted. Yeah, she's a little fighter. It's like, you ain't taking me down. I might be tiny, but I'm mighty, right? I really didn't think the puppy would get close enough for the cat to strike like that, right? I thought maybe enough to scare the little puppy at least, maybe paw the nose a little bit. You know how it goes, but no, it had to be massive. That's just how my life rolls. It can't be a small incident, it's got to be a large one. That's how it goes. Hold on one sec. Today's also Good Friday, so there's no school, so the grandson's here with me. He has a blue tongue. He's eating candy. Hey, Jet, welcome in. Oh, it was a popsicle, excuse me. That's right, we bought these popsicles the other night that he had not tried. He just tried one and they were sour and turned his tongue blue. The good old days, right? The good old days. When all I had to do was walk in the bathroom and look at my tongue and what color did it turn today? Some days I feel like that's the kind of life I want to lead. Just what all I care about today is what color my tongue turned when I ate food. Hey Jet, welcome in. It's good to see you as always. I don't know how many of you followed the case Leticia Stauch, Gannon Stauch. He was 11 years old. He was murdered by his stepmother back in what was it, 2020. She was convicted in 2023, and her conviction was just overturned. So she gets a new trial, and we're going to take a look at why that's happening, right? Why sometimes we want new trials granted, and sometimes it's like, why are you granting this trial? And I'm going to be mad at the reason why, right? I'm not going to hate the process, but I might be mad at the reason why she was granted that new trial, because it wouldn't have happened if there wasn't reasons, right? Because it went before the Colorado Supreme Court of Appeals. Hey, Asha, welcome in. Like I haven't seen you in a minute. Everything good? How are you? Welcome in. You know it like the back of your hand, Michelle. I watched the entire trial. I followed that case from the moment Gannon was announced that he was missing, right? Um, and I've explained it here before. Whenever Gannon was reported missing out of Colorado, right? I remember thinking, goodness gracious, how does this happen? How these kids just go missing? And I watched the updates about it and video footage that was last seen, look, the headlines, right? And I'm thinking, man, the next thing I know, a body turns up in my hometown and it happens to be a child in a suitcase under a bridge, and it was Gannon. And I know our investigators had to travel all the way to Colorado to testify, but what they found that day underneath that bridge was across the beautiful bay. And now I see this memorial right next to that bridge every time I cross that bay, which is all the time. It's unavoidable where I live. I can go a whole other way, but why do that? So we followed the case. We unpacked the documents. Well, I wasn't actually streaming back then, but I was in a platform that was not like big part of it or anything. But I unpacked all this. We read documents, and I think that Melissa Jade has done a full series. I feel like after the trial was over, she got her hands on, and they have went through a lot of stuff over there on her channel. I'll have to get the link and drop it into the chat for you guys. It's Melissa Jade. She's unpacked a lot of stuff with Gannon's case. Okay, Michelle. All right. Maybe I'm just not recognizing your name there. Did you change your name or something? Okay. Hey, Becky, welcome in. Becky B, welcome in. All right. So Leticia got the bright idea to lie to everybody and say, this baby just disappeared. Then it turned into a man came and got him, and the man broke in, all these things, all the things she tried to come up with. Turns out she rented a U-Haul. Was it a U-Haul? Drove all the way across the country into Florida. And I think she was headed to the Carolinas at that point, wasn't she? But she decided to just go head down toward Live Oak. Got to pass right by here to get there. And for some reason, she stops on this bridge at nearly midnight and drops him off the side in a suitcase. The one time I wished I had been driving across that bridge late at night, right? Why couldn't I have been the one to drive across that bridge and see, wonder what that U-Haul's doing? Oh, that lady got a suitcase and she's doing what? No, right? Ugh, it irritated me for a long time. And I remember when it came on the news that this suitcase was found and it was a child's body. God, who the hell does that, right? And I don't think it was a week, maybe 4 or 5 days went by, and the local news reported that child's body had been identified as Gannon Stauch. And I remember thinking, my God, who the hell abducted that child in Colorado, and how did he get all the way over here, and all that, right? It bothered me so bad. Um, but this is a part of Gannon's memorial. It changes, it evolves. People take down some of the older things that get damaged. We get a lot of sun here. Of course, we get the hurricanes and such, but anything that gets torn up, moved away, it gets replaced. They go clean it up. I've stopped there several times. I've went on purpose to go do it. There are a few others here in town that do it. And this officer here in this picture, this is a local detective, and he himself does stuff personally out there as well. He was one of the detectives that worked the case when the body was found and authorities were called. Here in Florida, we are big on our bridge inspections because we have a lot of bridges, right? We're surrounded by water, and to get from one county to a next, you got to cross water. Hang on one second. Sorry about that. Somebody just thought it was a good idea to have popcorn all of a sudden. Um, so anyway, the bridge inspectors were out doing their job, right? Inspecting the bridges. And when they went down beneath the bridge, that's when one of the I'm unmuted now. I had to mute for a second. I'm sorry. There was noise going on in the background and I had to get up. Can you hear me now? I should be unmuted. I'll wait for a sound check. I don't want to talk if it's not working. Yeah, testing 1, 2, 3. No, nobody can hear me. Hello. Okay, thank you. All I saw was muted question marks, and I thought I said hang on. I'm sorry if y'all didn't hear me say hang on. But I had a situation in the kitchen, a little loud. All right, you done? Okay, sorry. Thank you. Yes. All right, now we're good. So the bridge inspectors found his body and it was identified to be Gannon, right? And that's how it was discovered that he was there and started the process of the trial and everything. And I know the bridge inspectors also flew into Colorado for the trial. Um, how many of y'all watched any of that trial in the chat? Throw a one out there if you watched the Leticia Stauch trial. It was one of those that we had that fixed camera that we love. When the judge says no cameras, we like the judges that say, we'll give you the camera, but you're not going to get control of it, right? No zooming in, no bouncing around the courtroom, focused. You heard me say, hang on. Okay. Yeah, those divine intervention. And then it's unfortunate too, because it took so long, and once they realized what she had done, or they have this discovery, right? And they start backtracking and investigating. When she got that U-Haul and rented it, she didn't realize it had GPS tracking capabilities on it. And the goofy ass woman decided to drop him off and continue across the bridge, bust a Yui, go right back the way she came, go right back across the other side, right back into Pensacola and get herself a hotel room. They know. But she was granted a new trial, not based on evidence, right? We're not going to let ourselves get worried that she might get off on this, because that's not happening. What happened was this a juror problem, right? The kind of things we cannot have in these cases, and why a lot of this stuff before pre-trial is so damn important, why the Constitution matters in every single case, not just the one we're in our feels about today. Or I'd be preaching this stuff around here, and this it really irritated me. We already got the egg lady out there in the Murdaugh of it all, talking to egg lady, get out of here. This is serious business, and y'all over here messing with jurors. Ann Taylor wasn't wrong when she insisted on the importance of that jury, turns out, and all her surveys and this newfound research they're pouring into these jurors. And now that I've seen Nancy Guthrie's case unfold on top of Idaho 4 and Sebastian Rogers, and I see comments, I'm like, damn, we are all potential jurors, and do I want that sitting next to me in that jury box that I got to go deliberate with later? Please do your jury surveys, right, and weed these people out. I don't know. The hardest part for me to swallow about this, the defense asked to remove this juror before the trial and gave the reasons why, and the judge did not agree and allowed it. And now, Court of Appeals said, not so fast. You got an overturned conviction for murder of a child on something like that. So ridiculous. So let me grab this article, and I'll also have something else I can show you guys. But this is, I have Leticia's, I have the ruling, or I have the opinion, I should say. It's like a 54-page opinion they gave back. Y'all shouldn't be breaking the law, Mr. Prosecuting people, and listen when someone tells you. If a defense attorney approached me and I'm the prosecutor, I don't like this juror and here's why, and that's actually a legit reason and could be a concern later on appeal, I'm going to say, okay, I agree, move on, give me somebody else. Like, you got, 50 more to choose from probably? Why do you need to keep this one? Or you think you're going to sway the table by keeping that one on you want on? That's how that would work out in the end, especially when you throw in conspiracies everywhere, right? All right, let me figure out why that is jumping all around. Okay. And Leticia tried to claim the insanity defense and went through all the process of being evaluated. We had listened to that lady come up there and talk, her therapist, and tell us all about Leticia's mental health and made up schizo stuff. It's like, oh my God, y'all want to complain about the Dr. Johns of it all? Go watch that lady. And you think that they go to the same school, right? That kind of stuff. It was wild. And then there was the weirdness between Leticia and her attorney. Had a lot of us scratching our heads going, we really kind of wish we could zoom in right now because something funky's happening at that table. She was just horrible. Colorado woman formerly convicted of killing her stepson granted a retrial. And she not only killed this child, she tortured this child. Colorado Court of Appeals has reserved the murder conviction against Leticia Stauch, who was formally found guilty in May of 2023 for murdering her stepson, Ganon Stauch, back in January of 2020. On Thursday, a 3-judge panel handed back its opinion on Stauch's appeal. In the summary, the judges have reversed the conviction and remanded the case for a new trial. Will Rick Allen get so lucky? No, there was no jury issues there, right? Not today, anyway. The judges have reserved the conviction and remanded the case for a new trial, with 2 judges concurring one partially concurring and dissenting. The case came into question as a juror who had been identified as MB, who had a son-in-law who worked as a deputy district attorney in the same office as District Attorney Michael Allen. So the juror had a son-in-law who worked as a deputy district attorney in the DA's office. That should have been a problem right there. And why a judge allowed that, knowing that that might be did the judge just be like, oh, that nobody's ever going to come back on that. We'll just let that, we don't have enough jurors, sir. We can't let this one go and grab a new one. I'm like, you need Ann Taylor's phone number? She's got a guy. She's got a guy. I might need it in the future when the day I play defense attorney. During the court, get out of here. During the trial, the court denied the defense's challenge to remove juror MB, and the division of the Court of Appeals ruled that that was a structural error requiring the retrial. We do not like structural errors. That's what'll get you every time upon appeal. Unless you're Judge Gull. You seem to have some sort of unlimited protection that we don't understand. Judge Bernard, who concurred with his fellow judges on some of the cases, also provided the only dissenting opinion that would have affirmed Stauch's conviction. Sorry, I couldn't get the lid. All right, put that down out of my hand. I had something in my hand and I couldn't get the lid back on. It was irritating me. Judge Bernard brought in the larger issues surrounding the question of peremptory challenges. A peremptory challenge is the legal right in jury selection allowing attorneys to exclude several potential jurors without stating a reason. I feel like the reason's pretty clear. Judge Bernard states that he recognized that Stauch used 7 of her 16 peremptory challenges available to remove other jurors. But deliberately choosing not to use any of them to remove this juror. Bernard argued that this was an implied waiver of her right to raise the issue on appeal. Interesting. And by allowing for defendants to bank a biased juror for appeal purposes creates a broader issue. Well, maybe y'all should have took a little longer to evaluate your opinion on this. And we have the full opinion. It should be noted that the court called for a higher opinion on the matter. In the Colorado court system at the time of this article's publication, there is no hearing date set to discuss the next steps. I think there might be one set now. I think there is. I have to look. The district attorney's office provided our newsroom with the following statement on the opinion. So this is from the DA's office. Today we learned of the appellate court's ruling in the Ganon Stauch murder case. The court's opinion is a disappointing result for this office, Gannon's family, and everyone who loves him. Still, we remain... My screen feels like it is jumping all around. There we go, fix it. Still, we remain undeterred in our search for ultimate justice in this case. We will consult with the Attorney General's office about seeking review of today's decision in Colorado's Supreme Court, and if necessary, we will be prepared to present the case to a new jury here in El Paso County. Until shareable information is available, we will have no further comment. The 4th Judicial District Attorney's Office spokesperson. Okay, in a statement, Eric Samler, the attorney for Stauch, sent us the following. It's common sense the juror should have been disqualified from being involved. Gannon's father, Al, who has been in contact with our newsroom and will not be doing an interview at this time, has provided our newsroom with the following statement. After hearing the news today about the decision by the Court of Appeals, I am truly torn by the emotions of potentially having to repeat the process. And see, that's the thing, putting the families right back through another trial. right back through sitting through all of that and having to watch Leticia's ass up there pulling what she pulls a second time. That's crazy. My resolve, however, has never been greater. My desire for justice has never been wavered, and most importantly, my love for Gannon will never fail. I am reminded daily that Gannon is standing next to God in heaven and together looking down on all of us. As Pastor Paul and my mama recommended so many times throughout this process, let's go to the Psalms. I declare Psalms 23 over my family, all of the attorneys on this case, and everyone who has shown love and support for Gannon. The end result will be the same, and although we do not wish to journey this path again, we understand those who will handle this case and believe wholeheartedly in their ability to finish this once and for all. It was Al Stauch. Currently, Stauch is being held in custody at the Denver Women's Correctional Facility. Gannon was last seen on January 27th. He was 11 years old. He was last seen at his home at around 3:30 p.m. in the Larson Ranch neighborhood in Security, Colorado. The El Paso County Sheriff's Office, his stepmother says his stepmother reported seeing him leave the house and said he was going to play at his friend's. Yes, you did, Leticia. Yes, you did. I just can't with that. That's such that. Oh, it's so annoying. Thank God Gull retired. Well, thank God, yes, but maybe we should. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I've still got to pour through the latest opinion or whatever came down in the case on Rick's appeal. Was the response right? I know there was a live about it last night, but I was too busy to focus on it, so I couldn't. But I do have that on the burner. Keith's going to come on with me. I'm going to try to squeeze that in this weekend. Maybe it depends on how things go around here. I got some things to do tomorrow, but I will be doing a show soon coming up on Rick Allen's appeal, the updates on what just came down in those documents, actually, because I need to read it for myself. I've caught a little bit of what's going on, but I just haven't been able to focus on it, and I know I need to figure it out. So, let me pull this up. Let me see here. Let me grab this. I got a couple of things to show you guys before we get into the topic, to the next topic, which was one we unfortunately have had to unpack too many times in this one case. Okay, let's see. I'm just going to show you a little piece on Gannon here. Okay, this is a news clip coming out of Colorado.
Springs community got some closure after 3 years, after Ganon Stauch's stepmom was found guilty of his murder. And while the details of the trial have captivated the nation, his parents have plans to make sure the focus is on their son moving forward.
Denver 7's Colette Bordelon sat down with them to learn about their goals for the future.
I never in my wildest dreams would have ever thought you'd be in danger, buddy, or I wouldn't have not left you. At home with what turned out to be your murderer and the last person to ever see you on this earth.
But you underestimated me. I am Landon, Gannon's mom, and that will never change.
Once I was 7 years old, my mama told me, go make yourself some friends or you'll be lonely.
In that car ride, I remember it like it was yesterday.
Landon Bullard is proud of her son, Ganon Stauch.
He's still my handsome little man.
He'll be 15 this year.
Along with his father, Al Stauch.
I'm still heavy.
The two have always been fighting for their boy.
I miss you and I love you and I'm sorry.
But in your own words, what would you say happened to your son?
I just think he loved.
After 3 years, Gannon's stepmother was found guilty by a jury on all counts for the 11-year-old's murder.
That was enough for me to close that chapter of the book and move forward.
Nobody else's fault other than hers.
The trial is over after more than a month.
We can focus on what Gannon has shown us.
They'll keep his memory alive in different ways.
Definitely just to make sure that we're doing it the right way, following the laws, have the right vision.
His mom wants to get the Justice for Gannon Foundation off the ground. Her goals are working to change laws around how missing children alerts are sent out, along with funding the travel and housing for families who find themselves in similar situations as Gannon's family did, and getting a grant to help sponsor kids who want to pursue STEM careers.
He's changed the world. Gannon, you have changed the world, and he has changed my life.
While his father works to make sure Gannon's little siblings know his story.
As the pain and the anger diminish, I feel I'll get more of him.
Peace. I keep talking about peace. I have that peace that gives me happiness.
Finally, feeling like they can be happy again, knowing their son has justice. Colette Bordelon, Denver 7.
Just reminds me of those recorded phone calls where Al was calling Leticia, and trying to get her to talk and all the things, and the way she would try her manipulation, right? You could see the manipulation at play there. Freaking heifer. Ugh. I'm gonna have to make me a voodoo doll about her next. I've only got one lady so far, that's Lori, but I didn't actually make one. I just closed her portal. People kept trying to resurrect her, so I left it alone. It's on y'all. But I'm gonna have to get me one for Leticia. It's not fair, that something that, and I'll say it's minor because it was so preventable, right? For the judge to, and then this rule about, well, she used, all these on these potential jurors, and there's so many times at the end of the day, they're like, oh, no, we don't care about juror number 13. Here's why. Okay, fine, move on. You got to be knowing. But anytime a juror has a direct connection to law enforcement or the DA's office, the prosecutor's flag, then anybody should be automatically know that's just too much. That could cause a problem later. So let's just avoid the problem. Why they take a risk, right? Like, we all just don't care. It's okay if they come back on appeal later. We'll say, oh, well, we tried, and no. The law is the law. It's there for reasons. And we need to do better. We need to do better for victims across the board. They deserve thorough investigations, not shady, skeptical, did you do your job type of investigations. They deserve better. They don't deserve to have them and their families just completely slaughtered on the internet just because. I like to wait for the defendant, so that's where I like to do my slaughtering, unless somebody gives me a reason to otherwise, right? Performing toothpaste miracles in prison. I think she's trying to get her. I think she's got some messages flying through the vents to other people. She's like, hey, you over there, tall, dark, and handsome. I might need to have me one of the vent babies. Ooh, no, we're not having it. So we'll keep an eye on this, guys. Like the appeal, I wanted to read the beginning of it, though. I'm not going to read that whole entire thing. So they have 3 judges sitting in on her opinion. So it's interesting. I've never really fooled around with the Colorado Court of Appeals before to know their ins and outs and how they're, I've only with Florida and like Indiana and stuff, certain states that I've had a reason to. So yeah, it was like, what, a 54-page opinion. Let me pull it up. People versus Stout criminal law, structural error waiver, invited error, juries, juror bias, challenges for cause, and peremptory challenges. A division of the Court of Appeals considers whether an erroneously denied challenge for cause is waived or invited by virtue of the fact that the defendant does not use a peremptory challenge to remove a biased juror to correct the trial's error. So they're saying that she should have used this rule to challenge it, but I don't think why would you have to? You're only allotted so many. But from that article, it didn't appear she used them all. It's only attorneys. She's just going what the attorneys tell her. The majority finds neither waiver nor invited error in this context and applying People versus, they cited a different case, concludes the error warrants reversal for structural error because a biased juror deliberated. And why are they calling them a biased juror? Because they worked in the prosecutor's office. Makes you automatically biased. Everybody who comes through the prosecutor's office is guilty no matter what, right? That's what you're a prosecutor. Good Lord. You're supposed to feel that way. Just like a defense attorney is not going to tell you my client's innocent. Well, unless you're Ann Taylor, you double down. They're just going to say, we're here to do our job, man. We're just here to do our job. And in fact, a lot of them tell you they don't even ask my client. I don't ask my client if they're guilty or not. I don't want to know. That's not my job. Job is to get them the least amount of time possible once they're convicted, sir. The dissent concludes that the defendant waived the right to claim error on appeal by exhausting all of her peremptory challenges without excusing the biased juror. And they are like, defendant Leticia Stauch appeals the judgment of conviction entered after a jury found her guilty of first-degree murder. Hang on. Their screen was like my split screen. One of them was just doing some ridiculous stuff. Okay, it was distracting. First-degree murder of a child under 12 by one in a position of trust, tampering with the deceased body, tampering with physical evidence, multiple crime of violence sentence enhancers, because we conclude that the trial court committed structural error by denying Stauch's challenge for a cause to abide. I need to read about structural error over there in Rick Allen's appeals paperwork, like really bad. Like I'm just jonesing to see it. We reverse the convictions and remand for a new trial. Now, one thing about Gannon is after he was found here and his autopsy was FOIA'd and then sold on Patreon, people got really upset about that. First of all, you're putting that baby's images out there, which I get it. I can look at a crime scene image. It's a crime scene image, and I'm just going to try to compartmentalize it and move on. But does they need to be out there for everybody to do all the things? No, not to that, not even redactions, right? And then because of all of that, there was a movement here in Florida to change the law about obtaining that information in our very broad Florida Sunshine Law that we love and want to protect. But at the same time, we got children that need protection and they're not here to speak up. So people spoke up. And now you cannot get those autopsy reports, and it went into effect before Madeline Soto. Nobody's getting their hands on Madeline Soto's autopsy. We know the cause of death, but we're not going to ever get our hands on that document because of this case. And rightfully so. We like this law in Florida. We don't want you to take our sunshine law away, but we will do what it takes to protect the children of sensitive material. You know, it was ridiculous. Selling fucking legal court documents behind a Patreon wall is so ridiculous to me. So they conclude she gets a new trial based on all that, and they got the background here. The prosecution presented evidence at trial. It's really not all that, it's that one thing, right? They presented evidence at trial that she brutally murdered her 11-year-old stepson in Colorado, puts his body in a suitcase, and left it underneath a bridge in Florida. Stauch had pled not guilty by reason of insanity, arguing that she suffered from dissociative identity disorder. But the jury rejected that defense and found her guilty as charged. She wasn't suffering when she was making up lies about what she did to him, or where he went, rather. You know, that one day he just wandered off to go play and never came back. I was fine before then. The trial court sentenced Stauch to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, plus 2 consecutive sentences for the tampering convictions. On appeal, Stauch claims the court committed structural error when it denied her challenge for cause to biased prospective juror who then deliberated. We don't need biased people deliberating. We need you to come with an open mind and ask questions, and then give your reason why you think this or that. She also asserts the court erred by denying her request to suppress evidence, but obtained pursuant to an overbroad warrant. Oh Lord, they're talking my language, unfortunately. And by admitting certain testimony by her husband, which is Ganon's father, Al. We agree that the court committed structural error when it denied Stauch's challenge for a cause and a biased juror deliberated. As a result, her conviction must be reversed, but it is likely to arise on remand. We also consider and reject Stauch's Fourth Amendment challenge to the search warrant. There we go. I got to read what the challenge was on that. However, we do not reach the remaining evidentiary issue. Challenge for cause. Shall sustain a challenge for cause in one or another of following grounds: relationship within the third degree by blood, adoption, or marriage to a defendant or to any attorney or of record or attorney engaged in trial of the case. So they're like, that relationship was there and the juror shouldn't have been there. You would think so happy that that would be like the law of the land, right? To make that the law for all the children's autopsies. Everybody was really wanting to get their hands on Maddie's because they like, was she pregnant? You know, that kind of thing. I'm like, hold your horses. You're not going to get it. You'll get cause of death eventually, but that's all we're going to get. And we don't need to know more than that. Just like when I got that 800 and something page document, and as I'm scrolling midway through and I realize I got pages and pages and pages of black, those were all images of CSAM that will never be unredacted. And I was thankful they were redacted, because I might be getting in the Stearns wouldn't be sitting down there 3.5 without injury. Something would happen to him in prison, not by me. Let's clarify. Let me say his name slowly. Stephon Stearns. I hope he felt that one. The existence of a state of mind in the juror. And the reason I keep saying his name is I keep hearing people say, I will never say Brian Koberger's name, that guy. You can't cover true crime and never, ever, ever say your defendant's names again, no matter how bad you hate them. I could say that guy, but if I say their name, something will happen, so that's the way I justify it. It's like, flip it. Flip it, man. I won't give him the time of day or the satisfaction of saying his name. Well, I'm going to hope he hurts when I say it. How about that? Well, I guess we different. The existence of a state of mind in the juror evincing in, why can't I get the word out? Enmity or bias toward the defendant or state. The court is satisfied from the examination of the juror or from other evidence that will render an impartial verdict according to the law and the evidence submitted. Man. I don't remember how long jury selection took in her case. It wasn't, I feel like it was like a week, but it may have been more than a week. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look. It has been 3 years since her trial. And then they challenged the juror. So did they not challenge it with the appropriate challenge in the beginning? Because y'all said they did ask for the removal. But you're like, oh, he didn't ask for the right rule. I'm like, why do I need a special rule? He works for the DA's office. Goodbye. Weird. In People versus McCrander, the Supreme Court held that when an elected district attorney is the attorney of record under Section 1610-103, it includes prospective jurors who are related not only to the elected district attorney, but also to any deputy district attorney. And that was the case here. That is, the statute directs automatic removal of a juror related within the third degree. So if that's automatic removal, she didn't need to use her special rule. You got it? Yeah, Rachel, the first time before trial, the defense asked to have this juror removed and the judge denied it. And that's why we're here now. The Supreme Court's like, well, that judge should have not denied that. Right, Gull? Well, unless you're Gull, it would work. That is, the statute directs automatic removal of a juror related within the third degree. All right. Public trust and confidence in the criminal justice system. This preserves the appearance, if not the reality, of fairness. And I agree. This preserves the appearance, if not the reality, of fairness in criminal prosecution and public trust and confidence in the criminal justice system. I do not need biased jurors and tunnel vision investigators, because they might be trying to shove the wrong person down my throat. And I need to trust them and believe in them, right? I need to do that to make this work and challenge where I need to challenge. Additional facts: as part of voir dire, the prospective jurors completed a questionnaire, which is, the standard jury questionnaires that go out to these jurors when they're being evaluated. That included a question about whether they had friends or relatives in law enforcement. Prospective juror MB indicated that his son-in-law worked with the El Paso County District Attorney. During follow-up questioning, juror MB confirmed that his son-in-law worked as a deputy district attorney in the same office and for Michael Allen, the elected district attorney in El Paso County, and the prosecuting attorney in this case. So yes, my son-in-law is in law enforcement and works for the district attorney prosecuting the case. When the court asked for more detail, defense counsel explained his son-in-law works for Mr. Allen. The prosecutor in court then made the following comments. The prosecutor: I hate to agree with the defense, but the follow-up questions were never asked, and that's going to impact his ability to be a fair or impartial juror. And that, oh boy, what? I got to start that over. Hold on. I need a sip of coffee. It is the correct decision, Rachel. I'm not mad at it because it's the law. I mean, I'm mad at them for not fixing it to begin with, right? That's where our focus should be. Is y'all should have took care of this in the beginning, and we wouldn't be sitting here now with a family who has to go through a whole entire new trial. Is she going to come back this time and have I get better ideas. I really didn't do all y'all said I did. That was my twin sister. I found her after all these years. Just found her. 23andMe and shit. IgG. It was her. What the hell are you going to come back and do? Try to get a guilty plea and maybe get a lesser sentence out of the deal? I don't know. Ugh. I hate to agree with the defense, but the follow-up questions were never asked. How's that going to impact his ability to be a fair and impartial juror? And that certainly doesn't rise to a level of statutory cause. So we would object to him being released for cause. Then, if you agree it could be a problem, but That's some kind of word salad, Mr. Prosecutor, right there. Listen to yourself. The court. Yeah, I'm going to circle back to that one too. Probably what I'm going to do is not excuse the juror. At this point in time, think about it over the weekend and see where we are. What is there to think about? I tend to agree that I don't think it's a statutory cause and didn't hear anything else but the fact creating an issue on conflicting or something else. I don't run across those sets of facts very often. What? Y'all have never had a potential juror that worked somewhere in the law enforcement? So I just need to think about that when he said, and it may be that I decide next week. And it may be that I decide next week. Let me go consult my law books. I forgot. I don't know about this one. Well, all your wishy-washiness has got you here. All your I don't knows, the Supreme Court was like, well, you should have known. That's what you went to law school for, Judge. The prosecutor suggested that the court ask further questions of juror MB, and the court agreed. Defense counsel objected. I think the record is what it is. I guess the only thing I think there is, a difference between somebody saying I have a son or a daughter who works for the police than I have a son-in-law. So they're going to it's different if it was his son working for the department, but it's his son-in-law. That's different. No, it's not. Happy wife, happy life. Daddy wants you to do this. What? Daddy, you need to do this. My husband works in the DA. No, get out of here. I don't care how they're related. They're related. Being the husband of may be the worst. We don't know. And so I think that's where it becomes different, even if it was a different district attorney, other than his son-in-law's direct boss. Well, they're just going to go back and forth about it and debate about it. And Leticia's like, yeah, y'all go. I don't know what y'all are doing up there, but y'all go right ahead. As she's staring at the wall or some stupid shit. Oh, disclaimer, I cuss while I discuss and drink coffee. There's plenty of polite options out there if you're looking. The trial court brought the prospective jurors back into the room and asked juror MB how long his son-in-law had worked for the district attorney. What would have mattered 6 months or 2 years would make a big difference. Why is this annoying me so bad? Because this witch got what she wanted on something this damn stupid. And yeah, I called it stupid. I'm about to call it ignorant on the law on this damn attorneys and this judge. Ignorant. Look it up. If they were right, they wouldn't be here today, having me read their weird word salad of it all. Whether juror MB had discussed the case with his son-in-law or the juror might be influenced by a desire to have the case work out better for his son-in-law, based on his answers, the court instructed MB to return the next day. He was not ultimately dismissed. They're so worried about him. Why are they keeping him in there? He won't be biased after all. He's just the son-in-law. The manual says son-in-laws do not count. Dr. Gary Ricardo will tell you to examine the family dynamics, and they absolutely freaking count. Apparently, a lot. Nevertheless, the Attorney General argues that the reversal is not warranted because it was not clear from the record whether the juror deliberated. What? Did he sit there and twiddle his thumbs and I don't want to talk? Or was he an alternate juror? Only to come deliberate if one fell out? Do you get that option if you're a seated juror? You don't want to deliberate? You're good? Okay, well, fine. We'll figure it out without you. What in the world? The Attorney General also asserts that the defense counsel's challenge for cause was not properly preserved. Oh boy. That'll get you every time. And that the counsel either waived or invited the trial court's error. Yeah, we invited it. We are not persuaded by these arguments. Wow. So this is meant to unpack, y'all. Okay, this aristocrat, I'm trying to make sure I get the name right. Hey, Leticia Stauch was the stepmother of an 11-year-old boy named Gannon Stauch, and she murdered her stepson back in 2020. In 2023, she was convicted of the murder, life without parole, and she was just granted a new trial a couple of days ago. Yesterday, was it yesterday? Day before? And I'm reading through the court's opinion now. Colorado Court of Appeals opinion. They're granting her a new trial based on the fact that one of the jurors was the son-in-law of somebody who worked in the DA's office. Or I think that's how it went. I haven't got myself confused. The challenge is properly before us. The Attorney General first argues that Stauch failed to properly preserve her challenge for cause because counsel did not explicitly cite Section 1610-103. It did not correct the trial court's purported misunderstanding that the challenge for cause was based on something. Well, they still granted the granted the new trial, so I guess that was where the one partial one came in, right? Because there was two full-on and one partial, and that's what they're basing that on. The Attorney General further asserts that defense counsel comments after making the challenges for cause suggest that the challenge was based on jurors' actual bias, not his implied bias. He probably became personally biased because of his implied bias. For the reasons discussed below, we conclude that the court considered and ruled on a statutory challenge for cause under Section 1610-103. Therefore, the challenge is properly before us. To begin, we recognize that defense counsel's challenge for cause potentially implicated two different subsections of Section 1610-103. Recall that the statute requires the court to sustain a challenge for cause on one or more grounds, including implied bias based on a relationship to an attorney of record, the actual bias subject to rehabilitation. Oh, the judge going to give you a talking to, and is that rehabilitation? Don't let your bias come in, okay? Okay, good to go. That's rehabilitation. That is, defense counsel could have based his challenge on juror MB's relationship to the prosecutor or his state of mind resulting from that relationship. Oh, goodness. Humans really love to complicate the simplest things. And I'm noticing that more and more as time goes on because nobody calls it out. They just let it. We all just jump on board and be like, yes, you're right. We've become a drama-filled country. Given that we can't just sit down and work nothing out common fucking sense-wise, no, we got to debate that shit till the cows come home. Given this context, we reach two conclusions from the record. First, we conclude that the counsel's stated reason, son-in-law works for Alan, was sufficient to trigger a ruling. So they're going to go back and forth through this whole document about how, they ended up back at this decision. But it gives you an insight on how the court's supposed to work, what the defense should do when they feel like we can get this on appeal, right? Error later. I wonder how many I would love to see Ann Taylor's in case I appeal list. She can do it now. Don't get me wrong. I'm not giving hope to anybody. But damn good and well, that defense attorney had her a running list of what, I'm going to get you on appeal. I'm going to try to anyway. Remember that time you said that I couldn't throw out my indictment? Yeah, I might bring that up later. That IGG thing, definitely going to bring that up later to the Supreme Court. Because that's just an intriguing law thing, and I just gotta. I bet she was a little bummed out when it didn't actually go to trial. Whether she won or lost, she knew she knew. I so want to interview that lady and ask her some questions. Not about her client. Well, we'll get there. As the prosecutor correctly observed, at the time of the challenge, that neither attorney had asked any questions to elicit whether the juror had a state of mind, evincing anonymity, or a bias. I would ask every juror, have you heard? I guess first, wouldn't you ask if you heard of the case? If they say yes, well, are you biased? Right? Do you have a preconceived notion of what have you heard? If they tell you they haven't heard, how can you ask them if they're biased? If they don't know anything, they won't be biased, right? So if the client had answered, I haven't heard of this case, this lady, or I don't know anything, but a little bit I heard on the news, how would you know to ask them if they're biased? Unless he answered, like that said in his questionnaires, yes, I'm related to somebody. In this context, we conclude the prosecutor could only have been referring to statutory cause based on implied bias. So the laws are clear, the rules are clear, all the subsections under the laws are clear, but the attorneys can never seem to be clear, right, on what we know it's in there somewhere. It was there that one day in law school in the library. Do you remember what page it was on? Fuck. Call my old roommate, they might know. Despite the Attorney General's argument, we do not read these statements as demonstrating confusion, but the nature of defense counsel's challenge. So they got to sit in a room and pick apart every little word, right? And what do you think they meant? How do we interpret this? Because it's always just an interpretation of the law. And especially where Supreme Court justices are concerned. That's why who sits on those judgeships is extremely important. It's all opinion based. And my interpretation of the law and reasonable might really be different than your interpretation of the law and that that reasonable. What is that? Let's see. No. Aristocrat. No. I'm going to have to just strongly disagree with your statement about her maybe having too many bills to pay or something like that. No. Not at all. You need to brush up on the case. And with that said, Grizzly True Crime just ran a show a few days ago, and I was in the chat for the first time in a really long time because I'm busy over here. I don't go over there very often. She ran a story I have yet to cover from my hometown about a mother who put her baby, 5 years old, in a suitcase and put him in the water. I got 2 more mamas sitting in the same fucking county jail for killing their babies. 3 right now. And there ain't a damn ounce of this mother in me says I got too many bills to pay today and one of these kids has got to go. It will never be an excuse because pregnancy is easy to prevent. Becoming a stepmama is real easy to prevent. If you don't want them babies, don't love that man. Yeah, you got to look at the whole case. The only mother that I can come close to saying, and I have a hard time saying it, would be Andrea Yates. Of all the mothers who've killed their children, would be Andrea Yates that I'm willing to maybe sit down and listen to. The rest of them can go to hell. I've had a bad day. No, I've got 4 kids. It don't work that way. And I've had bad days. Real bad days. Never once thought of hurting my babies. Or even if I had stepchildren, that would never. I had the best stepdad ever. I got my real dad, but I also had a great bonus dad. I was lucky. So they're going on and on about the cause, statutory or not, and how we get there. So they got through all of that. When the trial court ruled on the claim raised on appeal, it is properly before us. So defense counsel's subsequent argument that the situation might be different if the juror's son-in-law worked for the police. Well, they are seriously arguing about all this stuff. It might be different if you worked for the police. Like, what the? Or for a different district attorney other than this one. Even if he worked for the police, that might still be a problem for me as a defense attorney. No, I don't need that. I need other people from other walks of life to judge this lady, their peers, right? That's what it's about. Other mothers come and judge this mother. Oh, wait, we got to balance it out. Put a few of them men on there. And single people without children, them too. We can't be biased. As a result, defense counsel was under no further obligation to restate his objection. So this just goes on and on and on about all that. I'm not reading all that. I got other stuff to get into here in a minute. I don't mind dropping this link in the. If y'all know me, I'll forget to drop it. If one of my mods remind me later, I can drop it over in the community tab for those who do want to look at the whole document. I'm going to scroll down and look for stuff. Nor can we conclude that defense counsel waived or invited the error by failing to use a peremptory challenge to excuse the juror. The law does not require criminal defendants to use the peremptory challenges to preserve an unsuccessful challenge for cause. To the contrary, the Supreme Court has held that its prior decisions do not require a defendant to cure a trial judge's error on a challenge for a cause. Truck was loud by using a peremptory strike. We recognize that the majority in the Abu Natan Ambu case declined to consider whether the waiver or invited error might apply in such a situation because it was not raised on appeal. So I'm going to try to go down toward the bottom. Let me see a little bit more of the conclusion. What is this? Additional facts. The investigating detective sought a trial court suppression order presents a mixed question of facts and law. We accept the court's findings of fact if they are supported by competent evidence, but we assess its legal conclusion. Additional facts. The investigating detective sought a search warrant for Stauch's cell phone for the following: data that may be identified the owner or user, address book and calendar, audio and video clips related to the above described criminal activity, call history logs, the usual, all her photographs and associated metadata, text messages, of course, SMS, all the things, the emails, the www wide world web, the global positioning system, also known as GPS, documents, applications, all the things you would normally get. With respect to these items, the warrant authorized, with the aid of law enforcement computer forensic laboratory, to view, photograph, record, copy, and forensically image and conduct. Is she trying to say they illegally took her phone? Ma'am, have you seen the photo of them downloading phones on the side of the road? Stop whining. Programs and apps. The warrant incorporated an affidavit detailing Ganon Stauch's disappearance and Stauch's conduct thereafter, including Stauch's refusal to cooperate with police, conflicting statements and behavior, ongoing communication with family members, and social media posts. The affiant submitted that it was necessary to search the phone to ascertain her past location and communications, and to aid in locating Gannon, who was still missing at the time. So she's talking about when he was still missing when they were getting that subpoena for her phone, or that warrant, rather. She didn't give her phone up voluntarily. Stauch argues that the warrant to search her cell phone was overbroad. Even Stephon Stearns said, "Yeah, you can search my phone." "Oh, yeah, I factory reset it a couple of times, but yeah, go ahead. It's okay." This bitch is like, "No, you're gonna have to come back with a search warrant. My stepson's missing, but you're not getting my phone." She claims it was an overbroad because it allowed police to access anything that might be on her phone with no temporal limitations. I mean, the attorney came up with that on his own. You had no clue what the hell you're talking about, Leticia. So the attorney decided that because there's the broad spectrum of the cell phone search, right? Anything you got on that phone is fair game at that point once that warrant's obtained. Kind of like when Google has to scratch something. While she acknowledges that the affidavit was incorporated by reference into the warrant, she argues that it broadened the scope of the search even further by allowing a search for anything that could be used as evidence. And we disagree, it says. Well, yeah, you're going to look for anything that can be, but like in a home, they got to be specific. Oh, you want to search the outbuilding on the property, that shed? Hold on, we got to obtain a second search warrant, right? They can't just bust off in your shed. No, we got to they did that in Brian Koberger's apartment. Oh, look, he's got a little storage unit thingy right here. We got to get a whole separate warrant to get in there now. And when you do list what you're looking for in the home, you got to list what you're looking for. With a cell phone, ignore everything you see but this, right? Even if it is other crime related. Like, where's that? So attorneys are going to continue to try to challenge that type of stuff. Supreme Court's got their hands full with some of Kash Patel's partnership with the private sector and their broad spectrum lawful search warrants. Let me get it. I want to correct the record. I don't want to misquote Kash. He calls them lawful search warrants. Him and the president have a partnership with the private sector. Don't force us, man. Just agree. Anyway. But it specifically incorporated the warrant, so they're like, it's all good. The affidavit is fine. It was a 4-page supporting affidavit. I need to get that affidavit and read it. The affidavit described how on January 27, 2020, Stauch called to report him missing, stating that he had left her house on foot and had not returned. It continued to describe, during the subsequent 40-hour period, of how Stauch refused to meet with police and provide requested information. Now, why would you do that? Your baby's missing 40-hour period, and you're over here not wanting to do anything. You're not talking to nobody. You're not wanting to talk to the cops. You're giving his daddy the damn runaround. Like, what in the world? Dolphin, did you have nightmares last night? She went and saw him. What was it? Serial killer exhibit out there? Out there in Atlanta somewhere. Parts unknown. Dolphin was traipsing around alone in murderous rooms, guys. I saw images. It's wild. Yeah, put an album together, Dolphin. It's interesting. Like, first thing I was thought about when I saw that one was like, well, it's like looking at the crime scene photos, right? You and I are just like, okay, it's whatever. I'm not being insensitive, but when people look at crime scene stuff. Slept like a baby. I hear you. I would have too. You know that. Okay. I mean, I looked at the picture and it didn't bother me after I put the phone down. I was like, ooh, that sick bastard, right? That I don't go for, oh my God. I mean, I feel horrible for victims, but that sick bastard to do these things to people. People actually probably should see those images to really understand what humans are willing to do to another. You can hear she was murdered in her bed all day long. But do you know how she was murdered in her bed? And how brutal it really was? And how horrible humans can be? So disturbing. Disturbing. It's more disturbing to me that people can't wrap their heads around that part. That part, right? She was continuously communicating with her daughter. Man, her daughter testifying. Holy shit. I just thought about Leticia's dating daughter. She got to testify again. Wow. Communicating with her daughter, her husband at the time, and other family members via text message and Facebook. The affidavit also described that Stauch met with police 2 days after the report, and she substantially changed her statement regarding Gannon's disappearance. I guess that's when she became under stress. Stauch initially suggested that Gannon went to a friend's house and didn't return, but at the police station, she said that she was abducted by a car. Lord, it's Leticia. Remember this part, guys? But at the police station, she said she was abducted by a carpet repair person who had essayed her at gunpoint. The affidavit went on to describe a roll of carpet with blood on it was found in a storage area inside her house. It also stated that Stauch's cell phone was linked to her doorbell camera security system. Based on the specific incorporation of the affidavit, which was signed by issuing magistrate and accompanied the search warrant during its execution, we conclude that the warrant was sufficiently particular. Stauch argues otherwise based on another case they cite, in which the court found a warrant was insufficiently particular because it contained no limitation as to the alleged victim or time period. Well, I'm sure this one did. Jesus Christ. But as described above, the warrant and affidavit here specifically describe Stauch's conduct during the 40-hour period that Gannon went missing. It says C. Rodriguez Ortiz case. The cell phone warrant was sufficiently particular because it incorporated the affidavit describing period of investigation. While the warrant was broad, the affidavit was specific. It described conduct limited to those 40 hours, clearly identified Ganon Stauch as the victim, and detailed inconsistencies in Stauch's conduct and story. There you go. The fact that a warrant was broad was not dispositive when it covered a 6-month period. The affidavit identified the victims in specific crimes. So they can't come in and search you for a year, right? Going back a year. They got to be specific and hone in on a timeline. That's why timelines are important to a lot of the crimes. We don't know what time to search your phone. Of course, from the time it happened to how far going back, right? And then we even saw in the Idaho case, they had to go back and obtain more search warrants to go further back as the process continued forward. Like, wait, we need to back up and go a little further. What was happening back here? Oh, all the way back to March, as a matter of fact. Turns out. Moreover, many of the categories described in the warrant were expressly limited to items related to the above described criminal activity. David read together limited the search of Stauch's cell phone to a specific time frame, victim, and type of criminal activity. The warrant did not allow for a general search. Like, they don't care what you talked to your friend about yesterday unless it pertained to Gannon, ma'am. Instead, it targeted a specific set of data that allowed police to establish Stauch as a suspect. A broad search warrant is nonetheless permissible when the requested evidence is justified by nature of the crime or crimes. We therefore conclude that the Fourth Amendment's particularity requirement was satisfied. See, the Fourth Amendment's particularity requirement. And Stauch's motion to suppress was properly denied. I can agree with that. As long as you got that timeline in there, right, of the dates, you're not going back a year, 2 years, my entire life history of owning a phone, right? God, please don't do that. No, I don't know. I've had a phone a long time. There's no telling what's on there from 10 years ago. Lord help me. Or, well, people I may have spoke about, ex-people or something, you know. I'm not a criminal. So the judgment is reversed and the case is remanded with directions. Oh, directions. And this is Judge Bernard with the concurring in part. Okay. So she was able to, by using the peremptory challenge, right? And they didn't use it on hers. On this juror, but it doesn't matter because they got him off. They got it. Structural errors, even those impinging on fundamental constitutional rights, can be waived. A defendant can waive her right to a public trial and her right to challenge prospective jurors who was the wife of the judge presiding over the case. What? I'm sorry, if I'm a defendant or a defense attorney and I got the judge and his wife might be a juror, no thank you. I'll drop this link, Dolphin. And I'm gonna go back on her. I know that Melissa Jade has all of the case files, I think, because she like really spent a really long time unpacking all of it after the trial was over, right? So, but I might have to get on the Florida website later too and see what I can find. But this one is, like I said, 54 page. But some of the documents they're citing, I want to go back and specifically pull those documents and read up on what's the what up. And by pleading guilty, she waives a number of constitutional rights, including some that could lead to structural error if erroneously denied. Erroneously denied. Erroneously denied. I will not give you a Frank's motion. I will not grant you a Frank's hearing because your motion is stupid and long and I don't feel like reading. Enough said, Judge Gull. Slam the hammer down. End of story. And Taylor's like, damn, I'm glad she wasn't my judge. People out there making fun of my judge and calling him names and shit. Look at them poor people over there in Indiana. I'll take my judge. I'll just battle it out with him over damn surveys. That's better. Waiver is the intentional relinquishment of a known right. We don't. Leticia's like, I don't care. A short history of peremptory challenges in Colorado. The United States Supreme Court has long recognized that challenges are auxiliary, unlike the right to an impartial jury guaranteed by the Sixth Amendment. Peremptory challenges are not to be federal constitutional dimensions, are not of, federal constitutional dimensions. If a defendant is tried before a qualified jury composed of individuals not challengeable for cause, not challengeable. We need to make sure we do all that going forward. Peremptory challenges due to states courts' good faith error is not a matter of federal constitution. Because the trial court did not commit any error concerning this juror, we need not base our decision on how the defendant responded to what he perceived to be erroneous denial of challenge of cause. Okay, so we consequently find it unnecessary to determine whether the defendant suffers an impairment of his right to use the challenge if he exhausts his peremptory challenges but does not use one of his challenges against the jurors. Y'all went through all that. In such a scenario, the controlling question is whether the defendant's constitutional right to an impartial jury was violated. As a result, the division's rationale incorrectly relied on our Supreme Court's precedent because those decisions do not require a defendant to cure a trial judge's error. Yes, on the trial judge, especially if you asked for something and you were not granted, that's kind of on the judge, right? When error occurs. It's like, can you correct the record so we can make sure when we get to the appeal part, we have a correct record, right, Gull? Maybe. On a challenge for cause by using the strike against the objectionable jurors. Well, they determined she didn't use up all her free outs and didn't need to with this particular juror because he was related even by marriage, right? The opinion proceeded to discuss whether the record showed the trial court had erred when it denied the defendant's challenge for cause, ultimately concluding that the trial court had not erred. Fast forward 19 years to Abu Natimbambu case, in which the trial court erroneously denied a challenge for cause based on the section 1610-103. The majority described the issue is that to be as follows: what standard of reversal applies where a trial court erroneously denies a challenge for cause? The defendant exhausts his preemptory challenges and the challenged juror ultimately serves the jury. And they go through, the majority answered the question this way. And then they go, well, their word salad, like your words matter, right? Especially for the law. We conclude that the erroneous seating of an impliedly biased juror is structural error and requires reversal. As a result, such an error is not amendable to analysis under a harmless error standard, regardless of the juror's actual bias. So the juror's like, well, hey, I wasn't biased. I just voted on what I actually thought. How can they trust it, right? Shouldn't have got this far. But Justice Seymour asked, would one unfair shortcoming of his approach be defendants always losing? He had this covered, encouraging trial court judges to grant a defendant's request for additional preemptory challenge whenever they deny a tolerable challenge for cause, one that is difficult to resolve and presents a close call. Hold on, guys. I hear something at the door. Okay, someone just got here. Okay. Analysis. I conclude for the following reasons: defendant waived error the trial court made when it denied her challenge for cause to juror MB. She waived the error because she did not remove the juror with a peremptory challenge, although she had 16 available to use for that purpose. So she still had some available. It's like, use them or lose them. So they cite the case again. Unlike in the Abu case, the prosecution raised the issue of waiver in the answer brief in the appeal. The issue has not been decided. What's the matter? Puppy just yelped out. I think she bumped herself. Lord, y'all, I need a vacation. I need a vacation. So yeah, they're going to go through a whole. I don't want to read any more of it. It's almost over. It's getting long, and they go through different. Oh look, they're going to cite some of Justice Scalia's opinions in different cases. They're going to cite more cases about it, and that's the thing with these Supreme Court challenges. They will go and review other cases too, and like, well, in this case, this and this and this, and then they come up with their opinions and interpretations of what that law means. The right to bear arms will be one of the highly and most debatable what does it mean clause ever, right? So crazy. What does that right actually mean? And I'm just using that for an example because it's always the most powerful. Down. All right. Did you lock the front door back for me? Okay, Mason. Okay. Let me get down here to the bottom at the other parts. Okay. Requiring parties to use the preemptory challenges to cure jury selection error is a good idea, whose time has come in Colorado. It is a general rule that all matters pertaining to the qualifications and competency of the prospective jurors shall be deemed waived by the parties if not raised prior to the swearing in the jury to the case. Someone came in and my grandson's like didn't know to be quiet. He's got to get used to me being here again. I'm just set up in the living room right now and I'm not even used to being in here to stream. He's usually at school, but today's a holiday. All right. So if a defense attorney waives any error related to a challenge for cause by not making the challenge in the first place, or if the attorney waives the same type of error by not exhausting the preempt challenge. So they may try to change some things over there, but based on this opinion, it's a matter of time for those, when we read documents in the future, they'll be like in Idaho case, they cited Lori Vallow several times and did. They'll be citing the Koberger case and other documents in the future. Especially, I always knew if we went to trial in that case, there were going to be a lot of Supreme Court things that come up later. They were going to always go back to referencing the Koberger case until Mother didn't like what she saw and he had to change his mind. Why should two of these acts, not making a cause challenge at all or exhausting unavailable preempt challenges, the power to remove the biased juror? God, you would think this would have been so easy to resolve in the beginning. If it required the defense to use a peremptory challenge, they should have just done that, right? But even though they didn't, they still were able to get the overturned conviction by electing not to remove biased jurors preemptorily. The defendant participate in their seating every bit as much as the trial judges who erroneously failed to remove them. I kind of agree with that. The defendant is in a position to correct the trial judge's cause error early and easily, simply by using an available preemptory challenge to strike the problem juror. And this remedy is far superior by any legitimate institutional measure to letting the biased juror sit. Now, the attorneys writing the appeal, right? They were not her defense attorneys. So like, yeah, well, this defense attorney might have messed up, and here's why, right? By not using that to challenge it. That doesn't mean you should deny what we're telling you they should have done. So, hi, Dario. I agree welcome in, by the way. She says, I cannot believe they didn't think that this would be a huge ground for appeal. Exactly. Especially when you go to the beginning and you read the back and forth. They're already having conversations about this juror and potential bias. And the defense even challenged them, right? And the judge is like, oh, no, it's fine. Until it's not. Leticia had been in prison for 3 years, telling them other girls in the prison, they say, I got a fighting chance. I'm going to get me one of those appeals y'all were all talking about. And they're all like, yeah, Leticia, we're waiting on our appeal too. And here, Leticia, guess what, girls? I just found out I got my appeal. Are they giving her high fives? Or are they going, that skank? Wow. Indeed, and if it's not like it's a challenge on evidence, right? It's a stupid error. Indeed, there are good reasons to require parties to use their available peremptory challenges to cure jury selection errors. Encouraging trial courts to be open to granting additional preemptory challenges when the decision to deny a challenge for cause. It shouldn't matter if I got 50 jurors potential, I should have 50 outs if I need them. And none of them work, go get me 50 more. I know it's a whole process and it's extremely annoying. And it's a boring process to watch. I don't usually watch jury selections because I don't got that kind of time. Even when I want something on in the background when I'm cleaning my house, I don't think I want jury selection. I ain't trying to take a nap, right? I know what to put on when I'm trying to take a nap. I have a go-to, and it works every damn time. And I'm not saying no names. The remedy would classify the denial of a challenge for cause that is difficult to resolve and presents a close call. A close call. We almost found the client guilty. It was a close call, but we decided they weren't. What? It's a close call. As good cause for granting an additional peremptory challenge under the criminal code. Okay. Criminal codes. So they're going to go over, then they're just going to go back and forth about the law itself. Testimony about manipulative behavior. I now turn to the remaining appellate issue the majority does not address. Testimony about manipulative behavior. Oh boy. Defendant asserts the trial court erred by allowing the prosecution to rebut her insanity defense by introducing evidence showing she had previously been manipulative. She didn't like that they presented evidence that she was a manipulative individual, and therefore that would harm her insanity defense. She's like, please don't show my 404B evidence that I'm not really a psycho. I'm just a manipulative, narcissistic bitch. They say, I disagree. Defendant objected to this evidence, adding that the court should analyze it under 404B. The prosecution replied that the evidence was not relevant to the defendant's mental condition. The court decided that 404B did not apply. Showing you are manipulative is not 404B evidence of prior bad acts. Just shows you're manipulative. She's like, that's bad acts about me, though. I'm the bad actor. Don't show it. I will assume, for the purposes of discussion, the manipulation evidence was a form of bad act evidence. Yet I would nonetheless conclude the court did not err when it admitted it. Before Colorado switched to its present unitary trial system, the law bifurcated sanity and guilty trials when defendants pled not guilty by reason of insanity. Generally, evidence of prior criminality of an accused is not admissible. However, in a bifractured case, or insanity trial rather, this rule is relaxed, since the prejudice that may occur by the admission of such evidence is lessened by separate trial on the issues of guilt. Courts in other states have decided that defendants, by pleading not guilty by reason of insanity, must make much of their entire life history relevant, right? If you plead, oh God, that makes me, I'm laughing. I'm sorry. By pleading not guilty by reason of insanity, make much of their entire life history relevant. Don't y'all agree? How can we prove you're insane if we can't see what your life looked like? Are we judging you in the moment? That's like that weird Kentucky law that two people are trying to use right now. Emotional disturbance in the moment. I lost my shit in the moment. Other than that, I'm fine. Okay. Well, Ann Taylor did say that life history is pretty important, but she had it down for other reasons. I therefore conclude the evidence of defendant's manipulation would throw light one way or the other. All you got to do is listen to the phone calls, you hear her manipulation, right? She's like, please do not allow those phone calls to come in and everybody to hear how I'm trying to manipulate Gannon's daddy into thinking a man kidnapped me and Gannon walked off to his friends and whatever else I come up with in between. Oh, goodness. What if this reasoning does not apply to Colorado's present trial system? Well, y'all need to figure that out. I'm in Florida. Related to the material of the facts, logical relevance independent of probative interim, probative value. Accordingly, I would affirm defendant's convictions. Nice. And that was the last page of that document, which I didn't go through all of them, obviously. Skimmed through some of them. Legal mumbo jumbo. What are you asking, Stephanie? Eduardo Quincy Brown. Who are we talking about? Butterfly says previously. I know I didn't look down in time to get all what y'all are saying, to don't know what your comment pertains to, right? Specifically. So yeah, there again, little 11-year-old Ganon Stauch. His father was in the military, and his father was away when he was murdered. And he lived with his father, but he was still very much in contact with Landon, his mother. She did see her kids regularly. They all had a relationship. You can go unpack all that if you want later. What matters is he was in the care of Leticia, who always seemed that it was fine. He was fine. She was fine to be their stepmom and to take care of these kids, right? And she had even talked with Landon in the past. They had like a little, relationship, stuff like that, whatever. So anyway, she's getting a new trial. He was 11 years old when she murdered him, and she tortured this child that day. Gannon's last time on earth was not, a good one. She made up a lot, didn't she, Happy? All those people, all the different things. Her story would evolve. And we had that one, what was it, the ring cam footage where you could literally see him getting into the truck that day and driving away. The truck leaving, and she told everybody he walked away to go to his friend's house, not knowing that the neighbors had seen him get into the freaking vehicle with her, right? And then she starts making up stories about the man who kidnapped her and the man who essayed her and the things that she did. Gannon was ultimately shot in the head. And what did this child have? 18 different stab wounds to his body. And then she tried to manipulate her own daughter after the fact as well. And her daughter was older than Gannon and his little sister. I know, Stephanie. I thought about Landon right out. I mean, I feel for Al, as well. But Landon, something about Landon during the whole process and the trial and watching her, it's kind of like people are always like, why didn't this child live with their mother? I'm not going to sit there and judge because I too have a child. I 50-50'd with his father. I don't know their family dynamics. Right, Dr. G? I don't know. So I really felt for Landon though, because I feel like I got to know her a lot better, right, and understand this family and how things were working between them. And when you think you have a woman in the home where your child lives, or even if you have custody of your child, you send that child off to the other parent all the time. Not just the single moms, the dads do too. Dad has to relinquish and say, okay, you're going back to your mom's. Well, who does mom have in the house, right? None of us that have kids and are in a divorced or whatever relationship situation have not thought about that at some point. And you got to have that open line of communication. And you can only hope if your goal should always be that child first, and you should have a relationship with the other person in the home caring for your child, right? Not a jealousy, that's my kid, not yours thing. How dare you even look at them? No, ma'am, we need to have a talk. I want you to love mine as much as I do. And if he acts out, by all means, correct him, right? That's the way I looked at it. But I avoided the whole thing by not going down there. I just didn't give myself that problem to worry about. I thought about it long and hard. Like, nah, I can't. I'm done. I'm not going down that road. It could not end well sometimes. I've seen things. But yeah, I imagine this family is going through hell, especially now that this is actually going to happen, right? We don't know how fast it will happen, when this new trial will actually start. Um, how prepared, did they give them like a time limit? Okay, you want a new trial? Fine. None of the evidence changes. Let's roll. There's not going to be any new evidence, right? But we get rid of this one juror who may or may not have been biased. They're still going to find Leticia Stauch guilty of what she did. The evidence is overwhelming. This is not a question of did she really do it. They hid evidence. They suppressed exculpatory evidence. They didn't correct the record when they should have. They didn't deny hearing after hearing. All that stuff that went on in Delphi didn't go on here. But yet here we are. And I don't know if Rick Allen did or did not do anything. I don't fucking know because I couldn't watch the trial. And I know all this weird stuff that I read for myself in court documents gives me a lot of pause and concern. And I would like a new trial that I could watch for myself so I can make an informed decision. How about that, Indiana? They're like, we don't care what you think, Miss Salty. Sit down with your bullshit over there in Florida. We just don't care. We're going to throw our hands in the air. Now I'm just making up shit. All right, we're going to switch into a new discussion. They have there's a memorial that was set up over in Gannon's hometown in the neighborhood. I don't know if what they have going on over there is still there and how they ended up doing that, but this little one here on the bridge it stays right there. And like I said, things do change out from time to time and people do stop. And if it's not super busy, and people will fly down this little part of the highway here, but you can get off the interstate. It leads you toward anyway. You can get off right here before you hit the bridge, and you can pull over and take care of things if need be. Then you just go across the bridge, turn around, and come back if you want. Yeah, Carrie, the evidence is so overwhelming. And just her attitude in court was cray cray. Like, lady, We're not doing an insanity by defense thing here. We already ruled. The judge said no, so quit acting like that, weirdo. Right? It's not getting you anywhere. It's just not. I'm going to have to take a pause real quick. I need to run to the restroom. I'm going to grab a quick coffee and place an eye on the kid and the puppy, and I'll be back in like 5 seconds. I could play y'all some music in the background. Look, this is one of the notes that was left at Nancy's property, a note to the kidnapper. What is this? Is this going to be loud or annoying? Oh, do y'all hear music in the background? I have no clue. Please hold. Please hold. Yes, I forgot about that. She was flipping people off, wasn't she? Wait, we got pictures of that somewhere, don't we? Thanks for reminding me about that stuff. A new one. This is music that they have preloaded on this restream thingy. I'm just messing with it in the background. Like, I don't know. All right, I'll be right back, guys. Okay. Was that crap too loud? Like that crap? I don't know. Was that loud? Yeah, hey Ruth Ann, welcome in. Yeah, it's disappointing, right, that she's even granted the trial, but I don't think we're worried that she won't be found guilty this time, right? I don't think we have to worry about that at all. boy, if that happened, we would all be like, "What in the hell just happened?" And we can't trust anything ever at that point, right? So yeah, we'll see what happens. They show that trial again. Goodness. All right. So like I was saying, this is one of the early signs that was left at the home of Miss Nancy Guthrie. That's right, Gannon's army strong. Happy, you are so right about that. We will always. I'd like to actually. I can't see. There we go. Yeah, because Al Landon, they're his little Gannon's little sister, even Leticia's daughter. My God, that child was so lied to by her mom and manipulated. It was crazy. So, all right. So then this is, like I said, one of those early notes left at the scene at Miss Guthrie's house when that memorial started to form out there to Nancy's kidnapper. Unintentional things happen, and we get that. Life is made up of choices. Please make the right one now. Give the Guthries hope with proof of life, or tell them where Nancy is, so they can get her and this nightmare on both end this nightmare on both sides. The Guthries and the whole country are counting on all you all. Prove to us you're human. Do the right thing. Now, nobody's done the right thing yet, and the people who wanted to do the right thing were kept from doing the right thing. It's insane. And I know they have to be people have to be asking some of the same questions that I want to know. Why do you continue to put a man in office that nobody who works under him wants anywhere near them? After everything we continue to hear and continue to hear and continue to hear about the sheriff of Pima County, if he's so incompetent and 90% of the force doesn't want him, and people are challenging him, and people are speaking out against him, who's the one person in town that likes him enough to say, you get to be the sheriff? I know he was elected, blah, 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 blah. Who's the one person, I'll ask again, who thinks Nanos is so fucking important we can't let him go? He's the number one yes man in town. We can't let him go. Why else would you continue to support somebody like that being in the highest office within a department that's supposed to protect a community? Incompetent. That's a pretty strong word. So Brian Enton did his little piece on News Nation. He did a few minutes of a standalone video he did for his YouTube channel, and he spoke with somebody who works at the sheriff's department, right? And then they aired, I think, all of that over on the YouTube. Oh shit! Hold on one second. Why am I getting on their YouTube channel? But anyway, the whole entire the whole interview aired on News Nation, I believe it was. And I don't know if Brian's done a whole video on it on his YouTube alone with that. I haven't checked. But right before we get into that, we are going to take a look at something. Let me check. I got to check a message real quick, guys. Okay. Not what I thought. What is is this? Okay. Okay. All right. There's a couple of things I'm going to show you guys. Some interesting stuff, actually. Because I keep thinking, everybody's like, oh, the person had to know Miss Nancy. I don't know if they had direct knowledge, like, hi, they know her, they're her friend kind of thing. But there's a damn good chance, and there always was, this person knew who Nancy Guthrie was and has known for quite a while, a long time. Not like their obsession is with Nancy Guthrie, or I need to kidnap somebody and I just want her. It was very targeted for a reason. Still don't know why. But how much critical time was lost during the very beginning? The first, 24, 48, the first 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. We're going to spend a lot of time on the word salad of it all. Doors, multiple, was there S on the end? Was there not? What does Nanos mean by this? What does he mean by that? Well, we're going to take a look at what people say he did and didn't do. If you really look, when Savannah did the interview, right, over on NBC, she made it a point to tell us we had to tell that sheriff a couple of times over and over our mother did not just walk away. She didn't bring it up just once. She brought it up several times. And if you got a homicide team that we all have already heard, 3 years experience tops, max between them, the homicide lead detective has never investigated a homicide. What? What you investigate? Burglaries? Because there's like a bunch happening down the road. A whole bunch of them. Have you not seen them? They should probably beef up the burglary division instead of dismantling things like homicide division and throwing those guys into a desk job about somebody's missing water hose. The sheriff's priorities seem a little conflicted. They're mixed up. He's conflicted because he doesn't know his ass from the hole in the ground. Okay. Before I get into what Brian Enton has talked about, Plunder True Crime's got some pretty good content out the last couple days. If there's some things y'all are curious about, a certain case out there, the JLR of it all, I don't really want to talk about it all here because there's no telling what happened, and I don't trust me. So y'all go over to Plunder True Crime and check out her latest content if you're curious about things. All right. But speaking of JLR, this clip I'm about to show you is a 4-minute clip. And the only reason why we're showing it, or I am choosing, because I have a choice, it's my channel. The reason I'm choosing to share this 4-minute clip is because of what this person who wandered up in the parking lot says to JLR. Now, I know how things work, and I don't know that this woman's being honest, and I don't know that she's being dishonest, right? I don't know. I evaluated it, and I don't think I have a reason to not believe her. I believe her. So I'm going to show you what she had to say. And it's about Miss Nancy and Miss Nancy's property. That's why somebody turned me onto it and told me about it. So, of course, I have to go do my research. Not because it was him or because he's doing this outside the house. It was what was said in the clip. See, some of us don't care about the bullshit, right? We don't. We look for stuff like this and we accidentally see all the other shit. That's how that works for some of us. All right. So they're, I'm assuming, what did he go back to, what you call it, Tucson? Because one streamer decided printing a bunch of flyers and handing them out would make him look like not like a grifter. So they all decided to do it. So they're out there passing out flyers now at this local Walmart here in Tucson now that what's his name went back to town. And he stumbles up on random people, asking them, hey, do you want a flyer? They're like, sure, whatever. Then this lady who happens to walk up. So I wanted to share with you guys this particular clip. And I'm going to mute the whole 4 minutes it plays and listen to everything she's saying, okay? All right, I know y'all will.
Honestly, I way back knew Nancy, and
oh, you
it's
did?
Heartbreaking.
You knew Nancy?
Yeah.
Whoa, what's going on?
I just didn't go into too much because it's like way back, like 8 years ago. My mom was friends with her, so like I never met anyone really in the family. I just met Nancy.
Can you share anything about her that you know?
Nothing. I mean, we're watching you trying to figure it out.
How did you know her? Like what?
My mom rented the guest house from her.
Your mom rented the guest house from her.
Yeah,
So she.
at one point.
Well, hold on a second. So she rented out her guest house
8 years ago, years and years ago. And from what she told my mom, whenever my mom moved out, she got her house and moved into her house, she wasn't interested in doing it again. And I really don't think she did. I don't think it was anyone that was like, but we worried about it at first because I mean, like, someone, you've been to their house and like you see it all unfold, and it was like, it's really scary. It's sad.
Information that
I'm
she
aware
rented.
I'm also live, so I'm like,
yeah. Well, I'm not facing.
Okay, it's cool because
voice.
Like I've
your voice though. Everyone's like, oh my goodness. She rented out her guest house to people.
She did years ago. Now,
do you know how much?
Believe,
like, was it like a just what's in the guest house?
It's a simple 1-bedroom with a bathroom. I think it actually had like 2 bedrooms. I don't remember if it had. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm shaky because it's like, it's weird. It's like a celebrity. I've been watching you for the last month.
Yeah,
and a half,
we're trying to figure out this mystery.
But yeah, no, it was. I mean, it's just a simple home. The glass doors walk into the kitchenette, and then you go into. There's like a little living room and then a bedroom, and then there was like a gated patio, so like you could see into Nancy's yard from her patio, but it was still separate. But it was still, I mean, you see it, it's right there in the same driveway and everything.
That's wild. So
it was just heartbreaking. She was a sweet lady, and like,
she have like any like caregivers living there or anyone else living there?
At that time, I don't think she had regular caretakers, but I do know like the few times that I visited my mom at that place when she was there
So you went to her house?
I've been there.
Where'd you park? Like on the right side?
On the right, in front of the sliding glass doors on the house. And then she would always park in front of the garage, and she would always go in and out the garage doors.
She would always go out in and out the garage doors. Nancy.
Like, from the little bit that I know, because I don't know nothing. I knew of her 8 years ago. My mom rented a place from her 8 years ago. But the little bit I know is they didn't use the front door very often. They went in and out the garage, or if you went through that side, I've seen people go in and out, like going to do the yards and the pools and stuff. There was people that would routinely come and go and stuff like that, but not a lot of anything, except that it's a real quiet neighborhood. You really wouldn't expect it, but you can see how someone could have gotten away with so much. It's so quiet and secluded and everything, but it's still really just crazy to me that they haven't found anything more.
Did you ever see like siblings go there? Like any like?
The only time I had ever seen anybody other than Nancy was like Christmas 8 years ago, and I didn't get introduced to anyone. I was just at my mom's, and then they were doing their thing, and I saw people through the fence and stuff, but I never like met anyone or anything.
So what was it? How did your mom go there and like stay there? Like, was it advertised?
I don't remember. I want to say she found out on Craigslist.
Dude, I'm giving you my number. Put your number in there.
Okay.
Put your number in there, and then
I mean, I'm
gonna
interested
text you
in talking to you more.
Yeah, offline.
Yeah.
Offline. Can we do that?
Yeah.
And then maybe I can like.
Because I just like, I don't want anyone to just be like, oh, she's out there spreading stuff and she doesn't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's me.
So
What would you say?
That was interesting. Yeah, I don't want nobody else there saying I'm spreading stuff. Yeah, that was me. So, did y'all hear what she said? She happens to walk up into the same parking lot where JLR happens to be, and she tells him, "Oh, I knew Miss Nancy. My mom lived in her guest house." She says her mom rented it. She thinks it may have been from a Craigslist ad. And then she went on to say, though, that her mother, uh, her understanding was Nancy decided she did not want to rent out that guest house anymore. Now, I don't know when Nancy's mom and brother moved out of the guest house, how all that unfolded, but this lady knew her like a couple years back. It doesn't mean they know anything or did anything, right? Just timeline wise, she would know stuff about the property, the gatehouse, or the guest house cameras that may or may not have been there all throughout the time. But asking her, did she have caregivers? What? She knew Nancy years ago, she said. Why are we got Miss Nancy now needing caregivers all the way back going 8 years? Miss Nancy was not as decrepit as people want to make her out to be. I swear. In November was a healthy, vibrant woman with a little bit of mobility issues. I literally see her with my own eyes sitting at a table having a meal with her 2 daughters, looking and acting quite normal. Didn't look like she needed a caregiver, in my opinion. Someone to take care of her, because she can't do it herself. She can't walk and talk and all the things. Like, that's ridiculous to hear grown people continue to try to double down on that. Miss Nancy's caregivers had to do it now. I don't know what the guy at the door did for a living, honestly. Apparently committed crimes. So what do y'all think? Y'all think that lady was legit or not? Yeah, Kelly, we do not promote any of his false information. We have called it out in the past. We've seen it all. He will promote a picture and a name of a person who don't even have nothing to do with nothing. Happens to be near somebody. I know. But this lady walked up and said what she said, and I'm not going to have tunnel vision and hate it because it was, you know what I mean? But I don't know if we can trust that she didn't know JLR and they didn't cook that up. That's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? We can't trust it. Because we've not heard that, like, Nancy did not, like, constantly rent the guest house out, right? Because even like with the new Nancy Grace reporting and the newer Ashley Banfield, oh, the contractors are being looked into and the electricians and the rooftop workers. That stuff was put out on X over a month ago. And not only was the electrical work put out there, then some people decided, well, no, we got to go find out who this man is and put photos of him and his wife out there and their names out there. So it's dangerous when they come on these live streams and just say, oh, I heard a name. And I got more for y'all that y'all ain't seen. That's crazier than that. And it didn't come from JLR Investigates live stream. Right? It's enough wackos in the world, unfortunately. So this lady just randomly walks up and talks about her mother who lived there once upon a time. I don't know if it's true or not. Don't know how it would be related or not. You know what I mean? They need to say, if they're going to investigate something, I got a list of streets I still need y'all to write down so I can get a good visual. And trust me, it's for a reason. That your little simple minds, not y'all, those streamers would probably not comprehend. They'll be like, why do you want me to go down that road? You can't look at a fucking map and figure it out. Why are you riding around taking tips from the chat about where you should drive next to look? Let me send you a real list of investigative journalistic type stuff. It's crazy. You feel like she could be legit but not telling the full story. I don't think she wanted to give out more than she did because she doesn't want attention to herself, but why even say that? I watch you, JLR. We're trying to figure it out by watching you. Well, that'll get you there, right? Um, so you did want to say something, but you're also at the same time trying to play reserved and not say it all. I don't think she was trying to hide something that might like be maybe she has a criminal brother and she's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that shit out loud. That brother of mine, you know what I mean? He 5'9" and all this. You know where I'm going with that. Yeah, you never know. You never ever know. I don't know about that, Broken Baker. I listen to chat. I like to talk to my chat, and we talk about the cases, but they're not over here telling me what to do, where to go, how to eat, when, where, and all the things. Like they're the boss of me. We're just all friends hanging out. But yeah, he is. They are over there. Whatever chat says do next, we do. But again, y'all go over to Plunder True Crime. She's got some stuff going on over there. She's got body cam footage. No, wait, what has she got? Audios of phone calls and 911 calls and police reports. Y'all know how if y'all are in true crime and you've been around a hot minute, you know how she rolls over there, Miss Plunder. And she's funny. She's got some cute little comebacks and things to say that are so funny. Yeah, we have a nice chat. We're not over here like going balls to the walls, arguing and throwing shade at everybody and their brother. What? We try not to do that here too often. We can, though, if necessary. But usually we're just here to have coffee, crime, and some conversation, or tea, whatever the hell you want to drink. She FOIAs documents that aren't readily available online, Rachel. Some of them documents you have to pay for, and some of us don't got the funding that little Miss Paula seems to have. So you go, girl. We're here to support you. Get them and share. We're cool with that. FOIA requests are actually very easy to do. It's just a process, and there's money involved, people. So people who are telling you some people are legit. FOIA requests cost money. Some document cams and things like that are gonna cost you. Audio interview, but many states will absolutely give it up if you just FOIA request it. But some of them out there do really, really good jobs at it and cover a lot of cases doing it, right? Finding all them damn documents for all the cases. All right, so Brian Enton does have some new reporting out, guys. I didn't go live yesterday, and there was actually some things that came out the night before that I made notes on, right? But I can get to all that stuff in due time. How many of you got the chance to see the News Nation interview that Brian did? The guy is shadowed out, and they have a voice changer as well. Yeah, in some states, they're like, oh, you're not from our state, you're not getting it. Or in some cases, a lot of them, that if you're within the state, you don't got to pay a fee like you would if you were out of state. And Kentucky's one of those places it's real hard to get documents if you're not from the state. That's why we like those states that put everything on a little website and says, here you go. Got time for your damn millions of FOIA requests for you to write me back snotty little emails because you weren't happy with what I just sent you. That's been happening everywhere. I'm going to go call them out and put them on blast. Miss whatever her name is from down there in Anytown, USA. Oh, kind of like Jody over there in Delphi. There's your queen of the clerks of courts. Okay, so this is a 3-minute clip from that interview that Enton did last night over on News Nation. And y'all, let's not forget, Brian's got to eat, right? He's got to order his meals when he's all the time busy, and he's single or whatever, I'm assuming. So Brian's got to make some money, and he doesn't grift on the YouTube, so he has to work for News Nation occasionally. They got to give him a bone, right? He'll do a standalone video, I've got a feeling, this weekend on that whole interview, right? So he had to give them something. So now they got their little scoop here. And boy, they were at the beginning of the whole thing, they're like, News Nation has learned, and News Nation has sat down with, and da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, lady, give Brian the credit where credit's due and move on, honey. We didn't do anything. But wait on this man to do it. All right, so Brian returned to Tucson, and we knew he had something up his sleeve. He pretty much told us, I am working on it, and I will be back. And here he is. Okay. Oh, yeah, he's done nothing but confirm it and confirm it and confirm it, right, Rachel? When they bring out the FBI hassles with the sheriff from way back when, all of that starts to come out. The law enforcement agency people in town willing to talk to Brian, they all come out and started saying their piece. It's all just, nobody's coming out and saying, this is not right, what y'all are doing to our sheriff, right? More and more are coming out agreeing, yeah, what the last guy said and what the last guy said. And now we have another guy coming out and doing it too. So it's just more confirming what we already know, like you said. It's just waiting on the people in authority in that town to get a grip. And like that one lady who kept going on Twitter, that's the politician that was giving us all hell, saying it was our fault that people looked at Nanos sideways. And we're like, no, ma'am. It's his fault we look at him sideways. But here you are on X blaming us, big bad social media people. Weirdo. I wonder why she's so, why is taking up for Nanos so important for her, I wonder. Oh, Lord, see, I got a conspiracy brain too, ma'am, when I need to have it. Mine matter. They don't have some weird tunnel shit happening. Mine are good. If you want to go make up a conspiracy, I'll make up a good one that makes sense, and we'll go with that one instead of some weird tunnels to nowhere. All right, I'm going to mute out and let Brian have the floor. Nanos can't even defend Nanos, can he? He'll get all tongue-tied and throw his arms up in the air like he just don't care. All right, take it away, Brian.
Mistakes when it comes to the Nancy Guthrie investigation, from what you know?
Speaking with some people that actually know the intimate knowledge of this investigation have told me that there was an immediate rush to judgment on what was happening at that scene, and it was that Nancy had somehow wandered off. And so they rushed to that judgment, stayed with that judgment, and then ran the investigation as if this was a search and rescue issue, opposed to a possible criminal issue.
From what you know, were the initial people who responded inexperienced?
From what I understand, the people that were there on the scene were not 10-year homicide detectives. They didn't have a lot of experience in homicide at that point, to include the supervisor, who, from my understanding, never investigated homicide before being installed as the supervisor for the homicide unit.
So the supervisor who first responded to Nancy Guthrie's house had never investigated a homicide?
Correct.
How is that possible?
Well, so you have decisions made by people that will install friends and people that can do stuff for them, opposed to people that are there on their merit and can do the job correctly.
Do you think not enough evidence was collected?
The fact that detectives had to return to that location not once but several times leads me to believe that they should have handled it differently. They should have kept the scene secure.
Do you get the sense right now that there's anyone that they're seriously looking at?
The people I've talked to that are still in the know on this investigation tell me that there's no direct suspect right now, no name on the table.
Is that shocking?
Not with how the investigation's gone so far. I mean, you have individuals that are either lucky as hell or more cunning than a lot of people have seen in the past. If you take the first, extremely lucky, maybe his luck will run out, but so far it hasn't. But if you take the second one, that he was extremely cunning, there's a chance that he may have covered his tracks so well that we may not find out what happened right now.
Obviously, we're hiding your identity right now because you could get in a lot of trouble for speaking out this way. What would you want to say to the sheriff if you could?
I would say that he ruined a great department. It's savable if he steps aside, and I would ask him to step aside.
How would you describe morale at the sheriff's office right now?
I would say right now it's extremely low. This is the lowest I've seen it. There's a lot of embarrassment, especially with the news conversations they've had with Nanos, his interaction with the media.
When the press conferences started happening and the interviews with Nanos, what were you thinking?
Shut your mouth. Stop talking. That's pretty much what we were all saying, is why is he out there saying that?
The no confidence vote, I mean, that every single deputy in the union voted that they don't have confidence in the sheriff, I think to a lot of outsiders was like, wow, I mean, every single deputy.
Yeah, this isn't the first no confidence vote that we've done. So it should have been no surprise to him, especially with what's been going on. So not only our local community, Arizona in general, but just the nation now sees that we have no faith in Chris Nanos.
Is it awkward for people working there?
I think everyone is walking on eggshells.
What would people in the department want to say to Savannah?
Just to explain to Savannah that just because we have an incompetent lead doesn't mean that we don't care, that we don't want Nancy to be brought home safely, and that we're not with her in this. We are completely with her and her family on this.
He's pending a criminal case.
That's a glimpse of what you'll see over on Plunder. Teaser. Yes, ma'am. Okay. So there's a part of that interview, and that guy, did he say that was not the first attempt at a recall? What happened? When was the first attempt at a recall? And what was that vote? How'd that look? What'd that look like? Who stepped in and prevented that recall? It's Friday. I'm going to be knee-deep in investigation all weekend long. God dang it. Well, I was bored. I had to have something to do. You wondered, I don't know, Dolphin, because Ashley Banfield's got two, according to her, she's got 2 to 3 sources. She's got one real close to the investigation. Enton's got several. Ruiz has got he may have one. So I don't know. This guy right here, though, has chose to do it this way compared to the other retired officers, and also Coates, that was his name, Aaron, who's been coming out and speaking and showing his face. This particular guy hasn't. Maybe he is one of the sources close telling. He's getting his information secondhand from the investigators. And I've always known that's Ashley Banfield's case. The source is getting information from someone else in the agency close to the case. And I said agency. I don't know if the leaks are coming out of Nanos' department or not. Because, somebody wants us to know for sure what Nanos is out there doing and not doing. Just like Savannah telling us they had to continue to tell them that she didn't just walk away. And you heard this officer also say in the very beginning of this investigation, they just could not get away from she walked away. You know how much critical time was lost because of that? How much critical evidence they didn't collect because they thought she walked away? And again, then you go back to how early that crime scene was released, right? Nothing happened here. She just walked away. Sorry, my grandson walked up to me with the phone in his hand and stuck at my face, and I didn't know my son was on there. Sorry. They didn't listen to the family, and it cost too much time. Because we hear this crazy mixture DNA. Well, what if there was other samples? Did they know enough so that when you got your lead homicide detective has never actually investigated a homicide? And then we also heard there was like maybe a couple of men on the homicide team to start with. Did they even know where to look for evidence at? Right? Did they have enough presence to say, we should swab the banister on the railing out there at the walkway where we see blood? We should swab all the doorknobs. What about the flower pot propping open the back door? We should swab it. Forget you don't know who was ever there, and forget you don't even know about a bite light, but damn it, you gotta try. What if the perpetrator touched that flower pot? What if they touched them vines we saw laying on top of that rug? What if we just took that rug? Hell, we've heard about 30 years ago, officers took a piece of evidence not knowing how one day it might help the case. Lo and behold, 20 years later, new technology, and that one piece of evidence, that one cop thought, I might want to save this leaf because one day it could matter. It mattered. But over here, we got none of it matters because she walked away, and a family saying, no, hell, she didn't. And then we go back to how many cases have we looked at where they say the family says we called, reported her missing for them to tell us, give it a few hours and see if she shows up. But we're telling you this is unlike her. She wouldn't not call. Give it a minute. She might be tired of her life. She'll get her senses back in a moment. That kind of mentality has to stop. Y'all think there's what's going on with Nanos is he's shaking in his fucking boots right now as he should be. And Nanos, with the part that you don't see, Rachel, is the part that might or might not be. This is all speculation. You afford that Corvette somehow, some way. Last I heard, cops make a decent salary, but they've all complained that it ain't that damn good. Got to get that pension. But when you own a fine home and you drive fine vehicles on a... What are you doing, sir? I heard that there's a lot of smuggling going on south of the border. And I heard there's some ranchers out that way that have multiple videos of said smuggling coming onto their property. And they've complained numerous times to the sheriff's department. And I think there's been one arrest. I wonder why. Bad investigation team. They don't know what they're doing. You didn't mind raiding Carlos and Luke, but the hell with south of the border guy, right? See, I got more questions now than answers. Something's going on, Rachel. We just got to figure it out now. Yes, 500,000 in misappropriated funds. The list goes on and on. And what did that one document say, Rachel? Let me pull it back up. Let me see. I'll read it. So it was a final decision. This came down March 19th, 2026. Remember they had the big recall thing, right? And they had their little public or their meeting there in town to discuss. Okay. So North Star Employment and Legal Solutions conducted an administrative investigation into Lieutenant Heather Lapin's complaint. Now, she was the one who was going to run against him, and he disciplined her and all kinds of stuff. We covered a lot of that the other day, what was it, a week ago or so on a show? Anyway, Heather Lapin's complaint against Sheriff Nanos alleging workplace bullying and retaliation following her decision to run for Pima County Sheriff. And you can imagine, too, he's like, I'm not going to let no woman beat me. The findings of the report are listed below. Findings 1, bullying. A preponderance of the evidence does not support a finding that the responding party acted for the purpose of creating a hostile or abusive workplace. Interesting. Does not support that finding. Findings number 2, ethics. The preponderance of the evidence supports a finding that Sheriff Nanos used his authority and department resources for political gain. The evidence includes considering Lieutenant Lappin's political campaign and investigation and disciplinary decision making, culminating in issuing a press release that included information obtained in his capacity as sheriff. He illegally obtained information because I'm the sheriff. Findings number 3, code of conduct. The preponderance of the evidence supports a finding that Sheriff Nanos violated applicable code of conduct rules by including confidential information and press release about the reasons he placed Lieutenant Lappin on paid administrative leave for political gain. He did not maintain rules about courtesy and civility. Upon the review of administrative investigation, the report, the sheriff's actions were found to be inconsistent with the listed policies. However, the sheriff is not subject to those policies as an elected official. Why the hell not? As an elected official, you should be, there are standards for elected officials as well. And because he's elected, he gets a waiver? Man, who signed that? County Administrator Jan. Well, Jan, you might be the topic around some folks' dinner table tonight. They might want to reconsider how they do things there in Pima County. Right? Wow. That's your only out? Well, this is wrong, but he's an elected official, so we can't impose it. It doesn't matter. That's like telling the kids, well, they're the adult, they can do whatever they want to you. They're the adult. That's stupid, and nobody's going to do that. We don't live in 1912 where the kids are told to listen to all the adults no matter what they tell you. I think so too, Hawkeyes. I agree with you on that. Like, so there's something, it's too far, it's too much, right? We know about small town corruption. Good lordy. Got that one guy in Kentucky over there shooting up the damn judge and stuff, and we all, ooh, what the hell's going on in that crazy town? Crazy town everywhere there. And they're still going at it. You know, the night the lights went out in Georgia, we know corruption exists, but I think it's about to come out there. And that's it's probably got a lot of people in positions and power there running scared. Even like the one guy that was Nanos' boss for years that Enton interviewed recently, he said, people complained to me multiple times about Nanos, and he didn't believe it, guys, until Nanos became his boss, and then he got treated the same way, and he's like, oh, damn, they weren't lying to me after all. Sucker born every day. Are you kidding? What in the world? Yeah. Well, the corruption, did it really come from the cops in Kansas, or was it that community, you know what I mean, with the misfits and their little sovereign citizenship they claim they have? There's where all that little small town tiny corruption. I get you, Hawkeyes, but at least it didn't work. It didn't work, Hawkeyes. Oh, wretched ass lady went to prison. God's misfits. Lord help us all. And I think Brian May had put out a video after that aired on News Nation, but I don't know how involved the video got. I didn't get a chance to watch it. The local cops there were very corrupt too. Yeah. And the courts It didn't surprise me, and I wouldn't doubt it at all. There's too much going on, in some of them places. So Nanos has got, you know, he's probably having some anxiety these days about his future. His wife's probably steering clear of him. You know how he gets when he gets in the moods. God, I can't talk to that man. I'm just guessing. I'm projecting now. You can't talk to them men when they feel some type of way about their own bullshit. You caused it, bitch. You fixed it. I'm going outside to have coffee. How about that? That's what I'd tell that man. You did this. It's on you. I told you. Not to be shady and dirty. Oh, and Nancy Grace did re-interview Jeff LeMay, the neighbor to Miss Guthrie that has the dog that barked. The 2 cameras in the back of his yard that didn't work that night. He lived 4 houses down, that guy. He was re-interviewed on Nancy Grace. And something interesting he said, January 11th, No Eyes image was taken January 11th. Cops want to know about January 11th. Well, Mr. LeMay lets us know that while he's reviewing his camera footage with the investigators, that they noticed the 2 times his dog asked to go out, which was very rare, was the 31st and January 11th. So is that where the date of interest for January 11th came from? Probably so. Now, would all y'all go back and check your footage from January 11th and see if you see anything? That gave them a date to work with based on what that dog did, right? Now, was the dog triggered by No Eyes out there on the 11th? I couldn't tell you if No Eyes was there on the 11th or not. We have no confirmation from authorities on that. They told me no timestamp, so I don't know when that guy showed up with the No Eyes. And I call No Eyes the no backpack, no gun, that picture. This one, see, he has no eyes. So he's known as no Eyes in my world. Don't know when this was taken. I know that the sources claim it's the 11th of January. But Jeff says that's the night his dog went out barking to go to the bathroom. They didn't see anything. They didn't hear anything. The dog didn't act weird. Once it got out there, just looked around, kind of looked in that direction, did its business, and went back inside. And then it didn't do it again until the 31st. Now, again, I don't know what this dog was barking at, being all the way inside of the house, and her house is literally down the street around the corner. The only thing I don't know about is people are going to tell me, well, he was coming up through the back. Tell me that 100 times. I know there's a possibility, but I'm going to have to ask you again, did you look at the map, right? I showed you guys yesterday because I don't know where this guy's going to come up from the back at. And you need to take a really good look at the scene to see that. I'm glad she re-interviewed him, though, to kind of clarify about what's going on here. Because, of course, red pen is Nancy's. Over here is where Jeff lives. See, down the street, around the corner, 4 houses down. But if you're going to say this person entered through the back, where? Where is he coming from? Where's he parking? All right. We have a little cul-de-sac right here that you park on my street. I'm going to be aware of it and wonder what you're doing. This road over here, Mina Vista, comes in off of Campbell and could be a route into Nancy's, but where am I going to park to sneak up through the back of the properties and past the back of Jeff's house, possibly jamming his cameras and alerting his dog, to go up through all the prickly, sticky things that we saw Brian had to go through just to get all the way to that lady's house? Why am I going through all that extra trouble? The possibility of getting stuck with a cacti, not happening. I'm going to pull up to that driveway and you're going to drop me out, let me walk up as you ease up into that portion with the lights off. That's my prediction as to what happened. We did. We reviewed it, Hawkeyes, and I was here for it because I knew how the back looked. All you had to do was watch the drone footage people were showing early on, and all you had to do was go to the map from the very beginning, and you would have noticed that one house behind Nancy, the front looks at her backyard. Always knew it, right? But to finally see Brian go back there and put boots on the ground and get that awesome visual was good. If they come in a golf cart, they're going to have to ride down the main road, Hawkeyes. They can't get that thing. My family, we have golf carts. We got them on the river. I don't see how they're going to get a golf cart through. I mean, I see they can do it, but you're going to run over all the prickly things. So the only other option is to go down the actual street, right? So if it's in the middle of the night and you're in a neighborhood where there's not a lot of activity happening, are you going to notice somebody out there in a golf cart, but you're all asleep? And if you're in a golf cart, guess what just happened, Hawkeyes? Your victim's not leaving the neighborhood. And I can get behind that as well because I'm not so sure they did. Not at least that night. Hell, you could have used a side-by-side up here and nobody would have known the difference, right? Up here where I live, you could have rolled up on your four-wheeler and it would have just been like normal. But in Nancy's house, and then there's neighborhoods on the golf courses where it's normal for everybody's riding around in the golf. Go to Pensacola Beach. Good gracious, y'all be safe out there. It's tourist season, scary times on the beach, but people lose all their senses. But if you're going to drive a golf cart into that area, you're coming down the main street and you're going to be close by because you don't want to go all through the neighborhood. Well, look, come on, you got nothing to shield her, to cover her, to hide her, unless she's wrapped up in the tarp. Then are you doing all that on a golf cart? So I got a real hard time getting behind the golf cart, but not if I'm just a couple of houses down. That might be different. But I'm also going to risk being seen with my victim in my golf cart. So I don't know. Yeah, there's plenty of golf carts. Okay, so then it may not be suspicious, but it may be at 2:23 or 2:28 in the morning, right? To see one going down the road. Like I'm going to know if you're walking down my street, you are not supposed to be here. So I'm going to notice, hey, nobody's ever cruising around in their golf carts in the middle of the night. I don't believe the tarp was used either, Hawkeyes. I'm being a sarcastic one now. Some of the experts claim had to be a tarp in the backpack because they can see an outline of something folded up in there. Like, explain to me why you think that, right? They tried. I don't know what's in there. Some sort of kit to gag, bound, tie up, whatever the hell he was doing. Hell, people got him bringing in wheelchairs, golf carts, tarps, you name it. We got it. We got everything but the kitchen sinks thrown into the backpack now, right? It's crazy. Our imaginations run whilst. It runs whilst. We lose our common sense about some of it. That's what we're here for. We're here to reel each other back in, guys, when we get out of hand. And y'all know I needed a time or two. Y'all will feel me falling down that rabbit hole and you're like, come back, girl. It's not worth it. Or y'all are coming to jump in with me, one of the two. We never know. And nobody's really reported anything new, right? Except back doors propped open, flower pots being used, no evidence of a struggle or assault. What we've always known: blood on the front porch, camera, some fumbling around with the camera until it was gone situation. Which brings us back to the guy at the door. Who are you? How have you gotten away this far? And where'd you take Miss Nancy? I don't, the why we'll get to eventually, but where did you take Miss Nancy, right? Just, sometimes they need them back. They have an item of Bundy's at the exhibit. Didn't they just link Bundy to a new victim? I haven't took the time to read into it yet, but I've seen the story. I mean, I know the girl's picture. I know the case, and I'm thinking that's got to be the case they're tying him back to. But DNA testing or something is now tied Ted Bundy to another case of another victim. So I'll have to look into that. It could all be staged. We really don't know. I don't believe that. Because I mean, not naive. I know families should be looked at, but we've looked, right? We've looked. What else do you got that could, nothing's convincing me this family did anything or had anything to do with anything, right? Um, that don't mean somebody close to the family in passing or knew that may have worked at the home at some point, that kind of thing. That's how they knew who she was. But I don't think this scene was, there's nothing to stage except blood at the front door. Are we going to say they staged open some back doors propped open? Why? To fool me on which door was the exit? Confuse me? I'll prop the back doors open, but yet I'll leave blood at the front. That'll stump them. You know what I mean? So I can't get there to a stage scene yet because I've seen no evidence. We might get an expert to come in later that will tell us it was, like in the Koberger case, but I don't know. Oh, he never got the chance. That's right. Yeah, I know you're not saying that, Hawkeyes, but there are some people out there who are still wanting to say it without saying it. You know what I mean? Of course, they're always going to be on the table till an arrest's made, but we see no evidence they've done anything at this point. Anything is possible, but staging, if I was going to stage a crime scene to make it look like something other than a kidnapping, I'm about to ransack that house and make it look like I freaking went off like a tornado. Now find some slinging DNA everywhere. I don't know. I could be all masked up and gloved up, but you're going to make it look more than a lady who just walked away. And you're not going to stage blood if you want the cops to believe she just walked away with dementia, right? Because that happens all the time in Nanos' world. So are you going to stage? So you have to, when you start saying, because people have been asking, was it staged? It was staged. Even the blood on the front porch was staged. I'm like, ask yourself how it would have gotten there to be staged. How would you actually pull it off? Would it work? And then why would they stage? And why would they stage it like that, right? And if it doesn't make sense, then yeah. A distant connection. I don't even know they're aware they know the person. That far removed kind of connection. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense? Because some people are trying, if we want to believe it was a kidnapping or an obsession, were they directly obsessed with Nancy, right? And they can't say it could be Savannah. Well, what if it was Nancy? It could be, but chances are probably not, right? If you look at the statistics on something like that and you look at it all fairly. But as far as I don't think they knew her was in her world. Like the family would go, oh my God, we would have never guessed it was Mr. Whoever. But somebody who knew her. That's what I'm thinking. And then the person who knew her that knew that person would never suspect it. And they didn't go and hey, guess who I know that's got some money. They just happened to know Nancy. And then that person happened to know that person. And I think, and then of course you got Miss Nancy plastered all over TV. If there's an obsession anywhere, it's going to be with Savannah. It's not because somebody got obsessed with Annie and wanted Tom out of the way, right? What? That's not happening. And it wasn't an obsession with Miss Nancy. I think you're a sweet, cuddly old lady. Come live with me. We'll have fun. That didn't happen. It was going to be direct. If we have an obsessed person who did this, they put the guy at the door up to it, and they did it to hurt Savannah. It is what it is. I'm not saying she deserved it or did anything to, draw that attention to herself. All it takes is one weirdo to sit there and think, oh my God, she's talking to me. In that delusional state of mind they get into, she's talking to me. If I could just have her mama like that, my life would be just as great as hers. If I had a mom like that, take care of me like that. She won't miss her. She's got her husband and her kids. I'm just saying, crazy people exist. Way too much security around her kids. And maybe they'd had a conversation in the past. Like maybe Savannah's like, Mom, you should put up a Ring camera. We need to get you a camera. Oh, Savannah, nobody wants me. You're the famous one. Nobody wants me, Savannah. They could have had those types of conversations in passing once or twice. Just like her brother immediately finding out, what Annie saw when Annie arrived. Back doors propped open. He was probably described the blood that they saw on the front porch at this point, and Mom's gone. Kidnapping. It is not a far stretch to figure out how he figured out. He's smart. He knows my sister is wealthy and high profile. No one's going to take my mama for any other reason than that. Wasn't because they had a crush on me back in high school and I ignored him. And it's not because some dude's obsessed with Annie and needs Tom gone. It's because of Savannah. Not like because of her, but because an obsession developed with her by someone. Yeah. And look, with that said, Hawkeyes, and even Savannah says it, Annie's the one that made it possible for her mama to stay in that home, not Savannah. Somebody wondered in the very beginning, Keith and I were having a conversation here about the burden of caring for a loved one. And was it like, get rid of Miss Nancy because we're tired of taking care of Nancy? But they were thinking Savannah. I'm like, but Savannah doesn't take care of her mama on the daily. And Savannah's got enough money that if mama needed care, she could provide said care and not even have to leave her own home to do so. So that was not her caregiver. That might have been the financial backer of future caregiving, right? But that wasn't her caregiver. It was Annie. Annie's minutes away now. If mom needs me, I can be right there. And Nancy probably absolutely loved that. I can stay in my house. I got Annie close by. Savannah can still be out there doing her thing. We're not going to impose on her. Cameron's out doing his. I got Annie. But then Annie was the first one that everybody turned on when her mama went missing. Even on the interview room, it took her 3 hours to call. No, sir, it's 12 for Annie, 2 for Savannah. It's so people hear certain shows and hear why they think certain things, but even the guest panels aren't well equipped with all the facts. They're like, oh, that happened? Oh, when did that happen? And it's like, well, you can't come with an informed opinion if you don't know what happened, right? Get out of that tunnel vision state of mind. We could write a song about tunnel vision state of mind. My leg is going to sleep. All right, guys. I'm not going to show you guys what Brian Enton has done. Y'all can go watch the videos over on Brian Enton's YouTube channel and get caught up on the latest content that he has out there on the case. And he's got a little more of the interview, I think, with the officer we reviewed a second ago. And I'm just really curious if this is not the first time an attempt was made. What failed the first time around? How far did that actually get, and when did that take place? I'm sure Enton will do follow-ups there on the ground with people he can talk to get information about those cases, about the case, and follow through with that. And the sheriff still won't give any interviews. No, Brian Enton, you do not work for NBC TV. Maybe Hoda should interview Nanos. She's full of joy 101 and she's nice, sir, and she will not ask you hard questions. He'll be safe there. Okay. I'm getting hungry. So I gotta go. I gotta go eat now. Thank you everybody for coming in. Hawkeyes, I'm glad you come in. Join us for a while. Thank you to the mod team. You guys are great. And for doing all that you do here for us, and dropping the links when I need you to and ask you to. I did drop the link in here to Plunder earlier for you guys to go over and check out her latest content. I'm going to review, I'll be also spending some time this weekend reviewing a little more of the Delphi situation and getting up with True Crime Keith and getting that show set up so we can discuss everything out of the document, because I'm strictly basing this appeal process in Delphi on what comes out of those. Well, we do it with all the cases, the documents. We're big on documents here. But this one particularly about the appeals, because it doesn't matter what I think personally, and it doesn't matter what all I saw for 3 years in that case. What matters is what those legal appeals documents tell me. So I need to grab the documents. I know where to find them. We have great people in the Delphi community who takes care of all that. And shout out All Eyes. I'll be doing that this weekend. Hawkeyes, thank you so much, ma'am. You're always coming in to support, and I appreciate you. You're amazing. Thank you. You've been here with me for quite a while now, and I really do appreciate you coming in and supporting like you do, and being a part of the community and coming in and talking to us and hanging out. Y'all know I love that part of this. I'm not, I hold no big degrees in law enforcement or investigations. I'm just a true crime junkie like the rest of y'all have been for decades. We're just unpacking it all together here together. All right, y'all go be safe on the YouTube streets this weekend. I don't normally stream on the weekends, but that don't mean I won't. It depends on what's happening around this household this weekend. I will say that. I do got a little something to do tomorrow, so we'll see. You think, Rachel, that he has the best chance? I don't know. It depends. I got to read that document and really dive in. I mean, I hope there's a chance, at least for a new trial, right? That's all I want. Just give the man a new trial. We got to give Leticia one on an error. By God, Rick deserves one too on an error. If we're going to do that, then I'm going to do that. Okay? We like it to be fair across the board. We don't use our feels. Not for this kind of stuff. All right, y'all go be safe on the YouTube streets. Have a fabulous weekend. If I do not see you before Monday, I'll see you come Monday. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you all for watching this here video. Please like and subscribe and follow. Much love from Little Yas.